Yeah, it's good. Pluribus is the latest from Vince Gilligan, and he proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he just can't miss. He is just him. It's incredible how everything he's made, I like. More like Vince gurgling, because I am gargling and swallowing everything he puts out with a smile on my face. This man just knows how to tickle me. He is able to put out things that I just really, really enjoy. The only thing he's made that I can even think of where I had like multiple complaints was El Camino, and that really did feel like it was kind of more of a paycheck as opposed to a passion project that he wanted to see through. But even that wasn't bad or anything. Anyway, though, enough Gilligan glaze here. Let's talk about Pluribus. I think it is such a fascinating concept that is explored beautifully. In a nutshell, I'll avoid spoilers for now, but of course, I get into spoilers, so I'll give you a warning when we get there. The show is basically about an invasion, but not in the traditional sense that you're thinking of, where tiny green aliens come down, probe our butts, and suck our tits and everything. This is an invasion in the sense where everyone's mind on the planet all of a sudden joins together into a huge hive mind. After a mysterious discovery at the beginning of episode 1, and a set of circumstances that lead to a spread of some sort, everyone joins into this giant collective. And there is no longer any I, there is only we. And everyone on the planet, save for 13 survivors, are now part of that collective. And they're basically omniscient since they have the collective knowledge of all, 7 billion people except for these 13. And since they're spread out all over the planet and information hits all of them instantaneously, they can basically do and get anything like that, like magic. And the 13 survivors now inhabit this world with this not human entity that has taken over the humans, but it's like really nice. It's like super fucking polite. And we follow Carol Sturka, who is one of the 13, and she... now we're going to get into spoilers. Now it's spoilers time. Spoiler warning. She lost someone very dear to her. And she hates what's happened here because it is the death of individuality. These are not really people anymore. It's now a thing. And she doesn't like that, and she's fearful of when they eventually force her to join as well, she would lose herself. It's a really, really interesting concept, and Carol Sturka is played by Ray Seahorn, who's extremely talented. I'm sure if you've seen Better Call Saul, you already know that, but she crushes it in this role. She is alone. She is miserable. She's been through so much, and she continues to try and fight against this entity, and even tries to team up with the other survivors whom just aren't interested in it. They like this because this entity that has now joined the consciousness of all the humans on the planet is so fucking nice, so sweet. Granted, it's a big old dweeb, it's a huge twerp, basically talking to a Redditor 24/7, but it genuinely wants to make the 13 survivors happy. It will do anything they ask. It can't lie to them. It cannot hurt them. It will actually go out of its way, sacrificing people to help these survivors be happy. And even in one of the episodes, Carol's pushing them to their limits. What if I asked for an atom bomb? Would you give me that? And they're like, well, we wouldn't be happy about it, but we would. And it's just so interesting because it's understandable why the other survivors wouldn't really view this as a negative thing, because it is world peace. Nobody's getting hurt anymore. There's no dying. There's no conflict. It's complete tranquility and just infinite, sunshine and rainbows. But it's not real people anymore. It's now just this thing that has their minds and their souls. They're basically puppets, but they're very nice puppets. And the show is just so well written, which I've come to expect from Vince Gilligan's work. It is always impressive just how tight the writing is with its characters, and especially the narrative here, where even when there is something dark, a big reveal that Carol Sturka unveils about this entity, it's then able to be argued from their perspective, well, this is why we do that. We do that because X, Y, and Z. And when you hear their side of it, it's shit, that's pretty understandable. It's still hard to view them as evil bad guys, even though they are. They non-consensually did take over the entire planet's consciousness to join it together, because that's how it spreads, that's how it survives, and it believes it's a blessing, it believes it's doing everyone a favor, because everyone that joins is apparently extremely happy about it. So they're viewing it as this gift, but like there are things about it that are weird and sketchy and like even downright unforgivable. And when those get unveiled and Carol brings it up to the other survivors or to the hive mind, they have really strong arguments for like why they have to do that to survive, because not only can they not hurt the survivors, they can't hurt any living creature. They won't step on an ant. They won't swat a mosquito. They won't pick a fucking apple. So like it's so fascinating watching them explore this concept, because it is a bad thing. All the people on the planet no longer have their own agency. So like if one of the survivors, like one of them we see, asked them like, hey, I want you, all fucking 20 of you women, I want you all to come over here so we can fuck. They can't say no. They have to say yes, and they willingly do so because they love the survivors so much. They say that many times, no matter what gets done to them. Like even Carol does some really like, you know, bad things to them that you would think they'd want to like strike back or like stop her from doing. They don't. They still love her. And even when they like, you know, separate, it's not on bad terms, and they still will do anything to provide for her and make her happy. It's just so, I can't express enough just how interesting it is. And of course, you're constantly wondering, is there a way to fix it? And as the episodes progress, there are some breadcrumbs about like, oh, maybe there is a way to fix this. And how are they going to figure out how to do that? There's only 13 of them on the planet, and no one wants to cooperate with Carol, except for a character that finally enters the fold that we've been introduced to earlier, named Menousos, who is a great fucking character. This guy is like, from the second this happened, he's immediately, you know, nose in the books trying to figure out how to stop it. He isolates from the hive mind, the others. He doesn't talk to them, doesn't interact with them. He is just constantly trying to figure out what he can do to fix this and save the world. Eventually, he gets some tapes from Carol, and now, at the season's conclusion, they are going to team up to try and figure out how to stop this, how to fix this, and bring everybody back. Because it seems like an impossible task. Yet, there were little glimmers of hope that there is a way, and Menousos got very creative with exploring and understanding how this joining worked in the first place. And I'm so curious to see where that goes in season 2, which I just read isn't exactly right around the corner, which is a little disappointing. But anyway, I have very few complaints about this show. As you can tell, I really did enjoy it a lot. It's not a show I think everyone's going to like. It is a slow burn. A lot of this is very much spending time with Carol Sturka, processing everything and grieving what she's lost and trying to come to terms and trying to figure out how to live in this new world while also trying to fight back against them. And then also the confusion that comes with it, because they are extremely nice. And none of the other survivors seem to think it's a bad thing. They view it as like the best thing that ever happened to them and the planet as a whole. So like, then it gets confusing with, well, maybe she's in the wrong. And even you as the viewer, since you keep seeing how nice they are and how they're able to explain things that would ordinarily be like inexplicable, you start to wonder, well, are they even really that evil in the first place? Like, it is just really well done. I think they have crushed it. And I really like Menousos' character as well. I know I'm highlighting Carol because she is the main character, but Menousos is great. Like, I think he has been such an interesting contrast to Carol's journey, where Carol from the very beginning immediately was like cooperating with them, not because she liked them or anything, but because she was trying to understand more about them directly and try and figure out how to fight them. Menousos, completely on his own, fucking pulled himself up by his own bootstraps, dusted off his shoulder, just got to business, and anytime they even tried to interact with him, he told them to fuck right off. He would even threaten to, like, you know, kill them. He wants nothing to do with them, and he tries his best to avoid taking things from other people, even though the people aren't there anymore. So he chooses not to. So instead of flying from Paraguay all the way to Carol, which he could do with the others, even offering it to him, saying like, hey, we can get you there in a couple of hours. He's like, nope, you can go kick rocks, eat dirt. I'm going to make this long journey and hike through extremely dangerous conditions here to do it myself. It's very cool. I like the show a lot. Like I said, it's not going to be for everybody, and I know that. Now, all this being said, I do have a pretty big complaint. Since there are so few survivors in the show, there's not a lot of opportunity for characters to be interacting with one another. Now, of course, there's a lot of individuals from the hive mind, but that's all the same character. That is one character, even though it's got a bunch of different faces. So even though Carol spends a lot of time with, Zosha from the hive mind and interacts with other characters from the hive mind, she's still interacting with just that same character. Same with all the other survivors we see interacting with the hive mind. That is still just one character. So I feel like we miss out on a lot of character interactions because it's mainly Carol and the hive mind and nobody else until Manusos gets there, and then we get to see Manusos interact with the hive mind. But again, the hive mind is one character. So instead of in Breaking Bad or something where there's a big cast of characters that you see interact pretty often, here not so much. And even from the survivor side, outside of Manusos and Carol, there's really only one other survivor that we see a handful of times, and he's just basically the pervert. This is great, I get to fuck all the time and I get to live in Las Vegas and everything's at my disposal like Air Force One, yippee. Other than that, the only other survivor we see is one that is very energetic, enthusiastic about joining the hive mind, and that's it. And they don't interact. We don't see a whole lot of interaction. So that was just something that kind of left me feeling a little underwhelmed with how little we see characters themselves talk to each other. But that's also kind of the point. Carol is alone. And even with the hive mind being around, that's not really a person there. You're still alone. It's kind of like using ChatGPT as your best friend. It's there to just make you feel good and just do what it can to keep you hooked on it. That's kind of like interacting with the hive mind in Pluribus. It is literally there to just always be your yes man and nothing else, to make you try and feel good. And that's it. So you don't get real character interaction, so it does feel very isolating, which I think is a good thing, but also from a viewer's perspective, I just would have liked to seen more with characters interacting. And now that Manusos and Carol are teaming up, I'm sure we will. And the little bits and pieces we got of that at the end of the season were good. I'm just hoping for more going forward, that's all. That's my only complaint about season 1 of Pluribus. Overall, I think it was just a great series. I highly recommend it, but I don't think everyone's going to like it. It is slow. But for me, that's not a big deal, so Pluribus I thought slapped. That's about it. See ya. Marty Supreme. I feel like a lot of you have heard this name recently because Timothée Chalamet has done such an incredible job at generating hype for it, most notably by shouting it out multiple times on a very popular song where he collabed with an artist who a lot of people had a tinfoil condom conspiracy cooked up that he was actually this UK rapper, and then in order to dispel the rumors, he collabed with the rapper and then dropped a verse where he shouted out Marty Supreme a few times. He was on the Las Vegas Sphere shouting out Marty Supreme. And I knew nothing about this movie before all of this from Timothée Chalamet, so I went into it pretty blind. The only thing I knew about it is that ping pong was there. Boy howdy, let me tell you what, I do love me some ping pong. I'm pretty nasty at it. I can clap cheeks on the table. So that was pretty exciting as a core component of this movie, but it's where the extent of my knowledge of Marty Supreme stopped. I just bought into the hype train because I was really entertained by Timothée Chalamet's promotions for it. So I just got back from it. It was good. Very good, actually. So I was talking about it on stream, and I made a comparison saying I got similar vibes watching Marty Supreme as I did to Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. And turns out they're from the same director, which makes sense. Safdie has truly mastered the art of capturing chaos and stress and carrying that momentum throughout an entire movie without ever letting up. It is unrelenting. So Marty Supreme follows Marty Mauser, who is a narcissist douchebag. He is an absolute scumbag who uses people till they have no more things to offer him in order to elevate himself to where he believes he needs to be, which is displaying his talents, capitalizing off of his God-given ability to bend people over on ping pong tables. He is an extremely talented table tennis player, and as such, he wants to be the face of the sport that he believes is going to take over the U.S. He is uniquely positioned, as he believes, to be the best possible candidate to make table tennis even bigger than it already is. And what a fucking journey it is. There's not a ton of ping pong played in here, though when it is played, I was pretty hyped, kind of wiggling in my seat excitedly. I love ping pong, so that was fun to watch. But that's not the most important part of this. It really is a exploration of one man's fucking unhinged journey. I could never expect where the movie goes next. So, like, even from the very beginning, it immediately puts you in the middle of, like, stressful arguments. Not to the point where it becomes incomprehensible, where, like, they're just talking over each other and yelling, so you don't even know what the fuck's being said anymore. It sounds like Charlie Brown's parents. They do such a good job at capturing this chaos of, like, a real argument where someone's trying to, like, convince someone of something while the other person's trying to stand their ground. So, unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. And it works really well. And it usually ends with Marty Mauser getting what he wants out of that person. Whether it's, you know, some kind of partnership or some kind of handout. He's very, very good at manipulating people, either for money or whatever, for his own personal gain. But he's also just so lost in his sauce, huffing his own farts, that he will also step over the line more often than not, where he will push the person away and ruin a good opportunity for himself. Like, you always expect him to have, like, this come to Jesus moment where he, like, simmers down, calms down, and he never does. It's always just over the top, extreme. He is just such an asshole. But the film isn't just Marty Mauser using people. Like I said, you go on a crazy fucking journey that takes twists and turns I never saw coming. Like, there's this whole subplot where he goes to a hotel, and Tyler, the Creator's here, which shocked the fuck out of me. Like I said, I knew nothing about this movie, so when Tyler, the Creator, shows up, I probably would have been less surprised if I saw my own dad in this film. I didn't see that coming at all. Tyler, the Creator, does, like, a really good job of playing with Marty Mauser here as, like, his cohort, where they scam together and they're good friends. And while Marty's in the middle of turmoil where he's facing a lot of unpaid debt and he needs to find a way to get to Japan to go to the World Championship, but after what happened at the last major tournament, it's not looking real good. And so they end up at a hotel. He rents a room. He's, of course, using Tyler, the Creator. He is very clearly exploiting him for his own personal gain because he needs money now and a place to stay. So while they're at this hotel, he takes a bath, which is something that the hotel owner said, do not do, don't use the bathroom. He does, and while doing so, the tub crashes through the fucking floor and blows up the dude's hand who was underneath him cleaning his dog, who we met in the lobby. The dog is fine, the dude's hand is fucked, he needs to go to the hospital, and it's just so much chaos erupting out of nowhere, and then it becomes a very big piece where he needs to take that dog to the vet because that guy whose hand just got absolutely annihilated, like it went through the goddamn wood chipper, is offering him money to take his dog to the vet because his dog is sick and needs some help. So the two of them then go take the dog, but they don't go to the vet. They use the money that he got paid for it to gamble it, not really gamble it. They go and scam others through hustling to make even more money, and when they get even more money, they get found out that they're hustlers, then they get tracked down by people who are about to beat the fuck out of them, just kill them right then and there. They escape, the dog escapes, and now the dog's lost, and now he's being hunted by the guy whose army broke because now his dog is missing. It is just so much that keeps happening, and every time I thought that they were giving him an out, he fucking blows it up. He ruins it. Not in, like, a way that doesn't make sense. It's a very Marty Mauser thing to do, to be handed an opportunity that could actually save him and actually get him out of the hole, and then just wipe his ass with it. It is just so well done. And I really think something that stood out to me a lot was the music. The music makes this so tense. It reminded me of Courage the Cowardly Dog music from time to time. They crushed it with the score. It's haunting. What will play when Marty Mauser's going through, like, you know, some kind of episode. And what makes all of this work is this 1-2 combo, this fucking two-piecing here of really strong writing. Like, I actually think they did a great job with writing these characters. Like I said, I think they have mastered the art of capturing stress and, like, bringing you into the stress. And also, an incredible performance from Timothée Chalamet. Not just Timothée Chalamet, everyone really does a good job. the weakest one, probably Kevin O'Leary, but even Kevin O'Leary delivers a fine performance because he fundamentally just plays himself. There are a couple scenes where I thought for sure he was going to say, "You fucked my wife, and for that reason, I'm out." Like, it really is him just being Mr. Wonderful. So he didn't do like a poor job or anything, but everyone delivered like a top tier performance, especially Timothée Chalamet. Now, I've become somewhat of a fan of Timothée Chalamet over the last like year or so. I think he's been choosing like good projects and he is very good in them. And I also really like how he is just very unapologetically being himself and being excited about what he's in. So like I saw in one of his speeches, he's like, "I'm trying to be the greatest, I'm trying to be the best, and I really think I've been delivering some incredible performances." I actually really like that mentality. I feel like some people might get rubbed the wrong way that it's like, you know, arrogant or something, but I like that. It reminds me of like an athlete or someone who is striving to be the best at what they do. And I think he really is trying to get up there with the fucking greats. And with performances like these, he shows he has the jaw for it. It shows he's got the talent. I really was very entertained by Marty Supreme. Again, I knew nothing about it going into it. I was fully open to the idea that this might just be trash that they were desperately trying to make a break even on or something with having Timothée Chalamet shouted out all the time. That's not the case. I can see why he's so proud of it. It is a very good movie. It was extremely entertaining watching Marty Mauser basically solve a problem and then immediately fuck himself in his own face right after. So like, he is extremely good at getting people to do his bidding and putty in his hands, but he always keeps going. He doesn't know how to stop. It is just so hectic, so chaotic. So even like when he is in a position where problems would be behind him if he would just, you know, call it quits right there, put the kibosh on the talking and the bravado and everything, he can't. Best example, and the one that really caught me off guard, is towards the end of the film. Spoiler warning. I've given little light spoilers. This is another like light spoiler. It's not the biggest one in the world, but just warning. As he is like on his hands and knees at his wit's end, he has to get to Japan because he needs to go to the world championship to prove he is the best in the world. But he still doesn't have the money. Everything else is crash and burned around him. Everyone has been hurt around him. His last-ditch Hail Mary was to try and manipulate Gwyneth Paltrow's character into somehow giving him the money through making him, through portraying himself as like very sympathetic and all of that, where she'd feel inclined to help. It's not really working, but eventually he weasels his way to her basically giving him a necklace that her husband gives her every year that's worth a lot of money, but she hates her fucking husband. Guy's a dweeb, tired of him. She gives him the necklace because he can sell it, get the money, go to Japan, do what he needs to do to prove his greatness. And he then kisses her. And I thought that would be the end of it. You know, they exchange a kiss, and he now has his problem solved. And he just keeps going. So a kiss turns into him eating her out in a public park in the middle of the night. And then cops are there and they see that and they stop them both. And then they end up having to give the cops the necklace to bribe them to stay out of jail. So now he's back to square fucking one. It didn't solve his problem. And I thought for sure that's where they were going. I thought that was going to be his out. It's not. So now he still has to solve this fucking problem in another way. It is so good that the ride never stops. Even when you think you see how it's going to go, it doesn't go in that direction. I was so entertained with this movie, man. I really did like Marty Supreme a lot. Is it a perfect film? No. I think this is definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea either. I feel like if you watched Uncut Gems and didn't like how hectic and how stressful and even at times headache-inducing a lot of the conversations and scenarios were, this movie probably will not appeal to you. It has very similar DNA to that. He's fast-talking. It's very back and forth, or even, one person trying to overpower the other in a conversation. Like, it is going to be a lot that maybe people will find to be more frustrating than entertaining. I get that. But for me, I really did like it. Had me giggling, had me entertained, and made me want to get back to practicing ping pong. It lived up to the hype. If you're watching this, Timothée Chalamet, let me know if you ever want to catch these hands at ping pong. I think I've got a real shot. I don't know if he actually plays ping pong in real life, or if this is all CGI, phony baloney, smoke and mirrors, which I doubt it. It seemed very real ping pong there for the most part. So I imagine he probably practiced a lot for the film, and I think he would be a worthy opponent. But anyway, I liked Marty Supreme. I thought it was very good. That's about it. So yeah, no long-winded intro. I'm hugging my knees to my chest in the cannonball position, diving in. New Avatar movie just came out, and it is the lowest rated one so far, which was pretty surprising to see. Now, I just got back from it. It's 3:30 a.m. The long movie. I saw it at 10:45 p.m. And I'm going to go on a little tangent real quick. I already said no long-winded intro, but I'm immediately sinning because I have to just complain about how long previews are. I've made a habit out of timing each experience with previews before a film. On average, it's about 21 minutes worth of previews before the movie starts. In rare cases, I've had it go up to like 26, 28, and even one time 30. This time around, though, this rodeo lasted quite a while because they had like an extended preview. I felt like I was watching a whole nother movie for The Odyssey. They played what felt like a 10-minute full sequence there before this movie. Now, luckily, it slapped. But Jiminy Christmas, the movie didn't start until significantly later than even I expected, knowing full well the average of preview duration. So it was a late evening here watching this film. Anyway, in order to talk about some of the things I want to, I'm going to need to get into spoilers. So this is your spoiler warning here. Spoilers going to be flying out the wazoo. Alright, I've warned you now. Overall, I liked the movie. I think it was entertaining. It was solid. There's nothing bad about it. By no means is there anything in here that I think isn't good. But honestly, I think it does deserve to be the lowest rated in the franchise right now, and I'll tell you why. My biggest complaint. This movie is extremely safe. Not only is it extremely safe, but it is extremely derivative of the previous two films. It doesn't introduce any new thematic elements or anything, and it borrows heavily from the first and especially the second. In the final act of this film, it is almost beat for beat, bar for bar, how Way of the Water concludes itself, minus one very important emotional high that the second film had. And that was an important character death. An emotional moment that I didn't see coming, that was a surprising death that felt very impactful and intense and carried a lot of weight. This film doesn't have that. There was no part in this film where I really thought any of the core cast was in danger, even knowing in the second movie they made that bold decision that caught me with my pants down when they killed one of the brothers. Here, the whole film felt just very much like James Cameron being comfortable. It's clear he knows what works, and in this film it also still works. But we've seen it before twice now, and he doesn't go out of his cozy comfort zone. He's perfectly content to just cuddle up with all of the same things that we've gotten from the first two without introducing anything else. And for me, that's just a little deflating because for this film, I thought there were quite a few moments with a lot of potential to really wow you. And I thought that's what this would be going into it, given where Way of Water stops. I thought there was going to be like really, high stakes, big, bold chances taken with this movie, and it's just not. I expected this film to focus on fire, the same way that the second film focused on water, and I thought that was going to be like super hype, and we'd see a lot of like new creatures, a lot of like new imaginative things about this world. Like Where the Water introduced, where so many things just felt new and fresh, and like we were going on a brand new adventure in this brand new part of a world we hadn't seen in so long, and it felt so fresh and exciting, filled with creativity and imaginative things and creatures that inhabit it. It just felt so alive and so different. But this movie, it's recycling all of the same, not only like locations as Way of the Water, but also a lot of the same things that happen in Way of the Water. So you're seeing the same creatures, the same things that you already saw in Way of the Water, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but I just really thought this was going to be like exploring another new side of this beautiful world James Cameron crafted. I thought this was going to be about, like, the fire and, like, this group of Ash Navi. Because, like, it seemed like they started to do that when she was telling her story. They show, like, a really beautiful, quick thing about where they are and the fire, the catastrophe they survived. But then it goes right back to the water. And the entire final fight and pretty much all of the fighting and everything happens in the same exact water, the same exact area that it did in the second film. So it just feels like we've been there, done that. But like I said, there's nothing bad about it. And in fact, I would actually argue this is the most visually breathtaking in the Avatar franchise. The visual spectacle in here, zoinks. It is incredible. And I really love the introduction of the new Na'vi that we see here, the Ash Na'vi, where they've completely forsaken Awa. They're no longer, like, very spiritual or anything like that. They're very much like, I'm gonna fuck you up, carve your scalp, let it all burn type thing. Which I think is a great contrast to all the other Na'vi we've seen till this point. And they team up with the Colonel, and there's a really great dynamic with the Colonel where, he does just have the memories of a dead man. He's not actually that guy anymore. He's just not that guy, pal. And Jake is constantly trying to get that through to him, and you do see it start to weigh on him. I thought that was a really cool idea they were exploring there, and I'm excited to see where else that maybe goes. Spider is also a character that I thought was great in the second film and has an even bigger role in this one. But I will say, they make a decision with Spider, and the only family he's never ever known is the Na'vi, the Sully family. That is his family, but he is an alien to them. He has to have a mask on at all times because he can't breathe their air. It's poison. So even though they accept him as a member of the family, he feels like he's a member of the family, there is just this very obvious distinction that he isn't. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. In this film, it overwrites that, where pretty early on, something happens where he does get the ability to breathe their air, so he no longer needs their mask, and that also comes with the thing on the back of his head that I'm blanking on the name of. I was going to call it the Kundalini, but I know that's not it. The Kundalini is from that rabbit hole that we went down on stream a long time ago about that serpent in your spine that can make you come by thinking really hard or whatever. I can't remember what it's called in the film, but he gets that, so he can breathe their air, huff it all in, no problem. He can jack into all life on the planet, connect to the animals, the spirits, everything. So for all intents and purposes, Spider is now a Na'vi in everything except skin color. Which in and of itself is a cool idea, and I think it is a natural progression of the character, but I really liked what I thought Way of Water was setting up for him, where the idea is, you don't have to look like your family, or you don't have to be able to do all the things that your family can do to still be a member of the family. I thought that was going to be an interesting thing that they play around with, but here they do kind of abandon that, and he is just a full Na'vi, basically. Which in and of itself has a lot of cool things about it, so I don't have like a huge issue with the direction or anything like that, but I don't know, I think it would have just hit harder if it didn't end up going kind of similarly to how Jake Sully did, where he does just become a Na'vi. Well, the same thing is happening now to Spider. He did just become a Na'vi. The only difference is he didn't grow fucking 5 feet and get blue skin, but he still has everything else there. Again, not the biggest deal in the world, because I think there is a lot of cool things they did with it in this movie, and I imagine more they'll explore in the future. I just feel like it would have been really interesting if they didn't. Instead of him just becoming a Na'vi, he could still just be that family member that happens to be a human. And that is a really interesting dynamic to play with that I thought they did really well with in Way of Water. Anyway, though, I want to get back to the things I like there. I already pointed out the Colonel is one of the highlights for me, but right behind the Colonel for standouts is Varong. She is the leader of the Ash Na'vi here, and also becomes the main love interest to the Colonel. And I think that's a really interesting thing that they explore there, because he, has been established as someone looking to really fuck up the Na'vi. He is still on Team Human and will do anything that they order him to. They say jump, he asks how high, yet he has legitimate feelings for Varong and actually fights with her and for her, defends her when the general tries to force them out, calling them savages and stuff. So it's a really interesting thing to see, like, he's forming connections now with the Na'vi through Varong and the Ash Na'vi. I think her character is great. She is to the Ash Na'vi what Jake Sully is to the rest of the Na'vi. She is a fierce warrior. She is brutal. She loves guns and fire, loves to burn things to the ground, and tells the story of how she got there to the Colonel, where after a catastrophe, her and her people were starving, so they cried out for assistance, praying for help from Awa. Nothing ever came. They felt Awa abandoned them, so they abandoned Awa. And she leads them, she saves them, and now she is the one that is keeping them all alive and doing everything she can to ensure their survival. And I really appreciate they didn't make her just an unhinged lunatic. Like, yeah, she does a lot of fucked up things, but she is still very much grounded in that she doesn't just, like, randomly start slaughtering people for no reason, just a loose cannon. Like, she does do, like, smart strategy and tactics. She's not just, like, crazy. She is ruthless, but she's not, like, insane and stupid or anything like that. They do a great job of walking the line between her brutality and still her being, like, a legitimate thinking being that's not just, like, one-dimensional. Also, I want to make a special mention for the action. I think all of the Avatar movies have really great action. This one is no exception. I think the action here is spectacular. I think James Cameron always does a great job with it, and Fire and Ash has wonderful action. Probably the best in the franchise so far, I would say. I just think the Na'vi fighting the Ash Na'vi, like every scene where they clash was really, really good. So, crushed it in that department. I will say, though, the catalyst for a lot of the action that happens seems to always be a member of the Sully family getting captured. I think that happened like fucking 5 times in this movie. Basically, anytime they turn around, someone's getting captured from their family and used as bait to spawn a fight. I feel like in the next couple of Avatar movies, maybe we should explore different means of getting a fight to occur that's not just getting captured. Because my god, it has happened a lot in these movies now. Like a fucking ton. But yeah, another thing, the music is great. I think most people are probably expecting good music in here, and you're going to get it. Like I said, it's a good movie, but I definitely think this is the weakest in the franchise so far, and that's solely because it's basically everything we've already gotten served to us again. But maybe for some people that's exactly what they want. It's entirely possible. Again, I was entertained. I also feel like the pacing of this film was really good. It never felt like it dragged, and I was never bored. It's a very, very long movie, but it truly didn't really feel like that. I thought James Cameron did a good job of keeping things, moving along, which was great. So yeah, overall, it's good, but I definitely think it does deserve to be the lowest rated in the franchise so far. But anyway, that's really about it. So yeah, when I heard they were making an It show, I kind of had the same gut reaction everyone else did, which was to write it off and just pretty much assume it was going to be, at best, mid. But as I've always said, even things that I'm pretty confident I will hate, I will always give a fair shake to and approach with an open mind, willing to be pleasantly surprised and proven wrong. And in the case of It, Welcome to Derry, the TV show, I was pleasantly surprised. I was wrong, for the most part. I don't think it's like a perfect show or anything, but it is significantly better than I would have expected it to be. Now, I'm going to be getting into spoilers, as I always do these days, so this is your fair warning. This show added a lot of things to it that I think on paper sound fucking stupid. Like actual crack pipe smoking dumb ideas that if I just read like a plot synopsis for this series and saw it in there, I would giggle at it and just immediately wipe my ass with this show. But actually watching it, it shines. In particular, I'm talking about Halloran. Halloran is a powerful psychic with the military who they're using as fundamentally like a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 UAV kill streak. He is a psychic that they are trying to use as a compass to target and locate it, the crash site of this entity. so that way they can use it to stop conflict across the globe by just instilling debilitating fear in them. They want to capture it and use it, and they're using Halloran to find it. And he has psychic abilities, in the truest sense of the word. He literally does have psychic abilities. Not to like Mob Psycho level or anything, but he can poke around in people's brain. He can incapacitate people with his mind. He can see into them. He can like astral project himself. And I would have not expected something like that for it. But man, it works really well in this show. And I think it's because of how good of a character Halloran himself is. He is a very interesting character, a complex, deep character that we learn a lot about, spend a lot of time with, and see do some really cool shit. So it worked. Like, I would have never expected it to, but it did. Another thing I would have never expected to work really well was having it not always be Pennywise. Because the most iconic part about this entity is the Pennywise element to him, especially with Bill Skarsgård being Pennywise. He does such a phenomenal job as that character. Well, in Welcome to Derry, this entity is not Pennywise at all, really. You don't see Pennywise in the way that you've seen him in the past until like episode 6 at the end. For the most part, it is doing all kinds of other things to scare and kill its victims in Derry. And it works really well. It is brutal, especially the end of the first episode. That was probably one of the most shocking episode premieres I've ever seen, because it like lulls you into this false sense about where the show's going and how it's going to play out. Like, oh, we've been down this road before. It's going to basically be like the losers versus Pennywise again, but this time a little deeper in the past. Okay, snooze fest. And then the end of that episode hits, and it's just a fucking slaughter of everyone you thought was safe, that everyone you thought was going to be a main character just dead, brutalized, like annihilated. It was surprising, but it wasn't shock for the sake of shock, because that becomes an integral part of where the series goes from there. That is like its main motivator, because then you follow two characters that survived it, and how, as a result of those deaths, Ronnie, one of the characters that survives it, her father's being framed for the kids dying there. And Lily, she's had her own traumatic experiences, and people think she's crazy, so no one believes her, and she can't tell people, and she has to find a way to try and prove she's not crazy, and so that way she doesn't get sent back to, Arkham Asylum. It's like a really interesting direction Welcome to Derry goes that I didn't expect it to at all. And it works really well. I think they are very creative with how it terrorizes and, kills in this series. Now, with that being said, sometimes the way that it terrorizes and kills looks like absolute dog shit. There are moments in this series that the CGI is just embarrassing. In particular, episode 3. Holy shit, the entire cemetery section where, they're trying to take a photo of the entity to prove that Ronnie's father wasn't the one responsible and that there is a monster that's killing kids. And they go to a cemetery to try and, provoke it, and then they end up getting ganked by a bunch of ghosts and chased around by them. And my god, it looks terrible. It reminded me of, the early 2000s Haunted Mansion movie with Eddie Murphy. Visuals to that level. It was really awful looking. The visuals completely ate shit throughout that entire sequence. And not just there are multiple other instances throughout the series where the CGI just looks super half-baked and unfinished, as if they forgot to texture it, but then ran out of time, so they just said, fuck it, do it live, ship it. There are moments where the CG is just very, very bad. I also think there are quite a few times where the writing is also atrocious. For the most part, I think the show has solid writing, especially when it comes to some of its main characters, but there are other times where it feels like what they ended up, just printing was placeholder. It feels like there's no way this is how they actually wanted it to come across. For example, I think the most egregious moment of, baffling writing choices is in their mission in the sewers. So they've located an artifact that they want to track down, and so the military does a mission in the sewers, and they send, an elite team in there in order to find it, and they're being led by a member of, the secret organization tasked with keeping the being under control so it doesn't just, run rampant. So they have this big team together, they're going through the sewers, And they are very familiar with the entity at this point. They know that it wants to separate, isolate, and kill. They know that anything they see in the sewers that they can't explain, they have to kill, they have to shoot, because it is most likely it about to attack and kill them. Like, they know everything about this. The only thing they don't know is the landscape of the sewers, but that doesn't matter, because what ends up happening is when they go in the sewers, pretty much instantly, they all just start splitting off. So, like, they're walking through the sewers and it's a single file line, and you would expect that they'd be in, like, constant contact with each other, like, talking, so that way they know everyone's still in line, or at least, like, turning around and checking every now and then. But that's not how it works at all in the sewer. What ends up happening is, the second that they have to, like, drop into some water, they, like, the first couple that do so, then, like, push a whole mile ahead before the rest do. So, like, they are now completely separated. So they're so far away from the group now that they can't even hear, like, screams from them or anything. So then, like, the next wave of the line goes through the water, and then Halloran gets to the water, and he gets pulled under, and the two guys behind him saw it happen, so they're like, oh, what the fuck just happened? We gotta find Halloran. He just got, like, yanked under. Where are you? Start saying words. Scream. You know, like that kind of thing. Scream if you love it. Ah, come on, just anything. And nobody ahead of them can hear any of this, like the splashing around, the screaming, the yelling, because they are now so far ahead, and they haven't checked at all if anyone's still with them. So these two guys are looking for Halloran. These two guys are now isolated, so they get ambushed by it. It is like the craziest shit, because they already know that it is there, and they know that it wants to separate and isolate them. Why wouldn't they at least be turning around to make sure everyone's still there? It's like the quickest and simplest action to take, but it doesn't happen. So then, Hanlon and Polly, who are characters that are very important, we've spent a decent chunk of time with them, they happen to notice that the others are missing, so they then go back to look for them without informing the two ahead of them. So there's just never any communication, so the two ahead of them continue pushing forward without knowing that Hanlon and Polly have left. Hanlon and Polly go look for them, now they're isolated, and now they're getting ambushed by it. Like, it's just so fucking stupid, because all it would take is just like a simple, like, sound off, like, hey, you guys still there? Or even just like one of these, like looking over their shoulder. And then they'd be able to immediately recognize whether or not they're all still in a group or separated. And because of that lack of communication or lack of really doing anything sensible, the whole thing goes tits up and everything is, you know, out of control now. Like, that was just so fucking silly to me, because it just felt so unnatural. Up until this point, most of the characters, I would say, were making mostly smart decisions, at least on, like, you know, how they handle certain things. But in the sewers, everyone got hit with, like, a stupid beam. Like, I don't understand what went so wrong there. Like, it feels like that would be, like, they knew what they wanted to do with have this mission going wrong in the sewers and all of that, but they didn't know a way of doing it other than just having every character just all of a sudden become like a fucking lobotomite. And in that same episode with the sewers, Polly does a heroic sacrifice where Hanlon believes that he just saw his son in the sewers, but that doesn't make any sense, because why would his son be there? And we had just seen moments before he had saw, like, you know, something else that wasn't actually there. So the idea is Hanlon is now just going to shoot his son because he thinks it's it. But Polly notices, no, that's actually his son in the sewers. So he, like, jumps in front of the bullet, sacrificing himself and saving Hanlon's son. That was really a fucking stupid way of killing off Polly, because he noticed immediately that his son was actually there. It's not it. And he was going to act immediately. You saw him look to Hanlon, and he still had quite a bit of time. I understand it's in slow motion, but he still had enough time to jump in front of the bullet. All he had to do was just hit his gun up. He was right next to him. All he had to do was just push his gun up. Like, it would have been actually significantly faster, and it would have been a lot safer for everyone, too, to just push his gun up or push his gun down, instead of just, like, throw himself in front of the bullet. I thought that was just, like, a really lazy way of killing him off, and I do not think that sacrifice hit as hard as I think they wanted it to. And there's a few other notable examples I could pull from for writing that I really just don't think landed, but there's no point in just going through each one of them. I just think there were quite a few instances where the writing really floundered, but like I said, for the most part, I think they did a good job narratively, and especially with the characters. It's just there are moments that had me kind of roll my eyes a little bit. But I would like to mention one more thing that I didn't like too much, and it does still kind of tie into the writing. when they're going through the explanation for the genesis of it, I just thought that was a little silly. Like, not in the way that it was presented. So basically what happens when we're learning about the origins of it, it's Hanlon who has infiltrated the mind of one of the members of the secret organization that keeps it contained. Well, contained is real loosey-goosey. It runs wild. It still does kill a ton of people, but they write it off as like acceptable losses as part of the cycle. But anyway, he's inside of that individual's mind, and he is seeing the past where when he was a kid, his aunt had asked him to recite the story of the Galoo, which is something that was a children's tale that they were all told, but it is true. The Galoo is it. And it's basically the story of how an evil spirit crash landed on Earth in a falling star, and the impact was so great that the falling star split, and thus its cage was broken, and it could, go out and kill now because it was no longer contained. And I don't mind any of that. Like, that's all cool, actually. But what it boils down to at the end, though, is that pieces of that falling star they took and turned into, like, a dagger in order to fight it. And they turned it into these artifacts that are used to keep it afraid of going past the artifacts. So that way it stays in the Western wood. And I just didn't love that. I really just didn't like the idea of having, like, just, this Excalibur it weapon and these very powerful artifacts they buried in the ground to keep them locked in there. I don't know. That didn't sit super right with me. I always preferred more of the mystery of it as opposed to it now kind of boiling down to, like, it's a Marvel villain that they can fight with this weapon. I didn't love that direction is all. Not the biggest deal in the world because the show is still very solid. Like, I did enjoy Welcome to Derry far more than I expected to, and it has an absolute banger ending, and I'm very curious where they're going to go further with this now. Overall, I really was surprised by how entertaining the show was. So, it was a nice pleasant surprise being wrong on this show. Anyway, that's really about it. So yeah. Yeah, you best believe that's a real title right there. There is legitimate drama with Ice Spice and the SpongeBob movie. Some of you may have heard her hit new song, SpongeBob Big Guy Pants OK. She is in the new SpongeBob film, and she went to a premiere event for it and chose very interesting accoutrements where she is now facing a lot of heat because this is a kid's movie and she's got her bikini bottoms fully out here. This clip is pure poetry, though, that much I will admit. This is at the premiere, and the Patrick costume, his eyes make it look like he's going, "Auga, auga," to Ice Spice's bare butt cheeks out in the wind right there, looking like Patrick Starr's discovering that mayonnaise might actually be an instrument. Now, you're not going to believe this. If you're standing up, you need to sit down. There were children at the premiere for the SpongeBob movie. Can you believe it? A kid's movie having kids in attendance for the premiere? Who would have thought? So a lot of people are criticizing this choice of outfit as inappropriate. And I agree. I think it's a really weird choice to wear a sheer dress with a thong where your entire ass is out at the premiere for a kids movie to an event that is attended by kids. I don't know what goober signed off on this wardrobe choice, but he was getting a little too goofy there. It is, I think, a pretty baffling decision. And speaking of baffling, you know what else is going to boggle your mind is the incredible Christmas sale at Gamersupps that starts today. You get a free gift with every tub, so go to gamersupps.gg and use code MOIST. There's a link in the description. Get some goof juice. It'll help elevate your game. Ice Spice might even fall in love with you if you do. And I want to immediately come in here and lat spread real quick and dispel a rumor that I'm seeing taken hold, an insidious fib that's a load of dirty barnacles that a lot of people are sharing as though it's the truth, where there are people unironically claiming that Ice Spice didn't wear this to an event that was attended by children. She wore this to a SpongeBob 18 plus only influencer event for the SpongeBob film. Even just saying that sentence burns my lips. Like, hey pal, did you just blow in from Stupid Town? You think there is a SpongeBob 18 plus only event? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. What the truth is that she wore this to an event for the SpongeBob movie that was attended by influencers, but it was not exclusively for 18 plus. There's pictures of her in this outfit at this event with children, like this right here. Apparently that is a 15-year-old influencer that she took this photo with. There is even video where she is talking to a room about the SpongeBob film, and you can see a bunch of kids in the audience, and she is wearing this dress.
Sorry, I'm out of breath. Yeah, enjoy it. I've never seen the film, so this will be my first time too.
There's a couple other clips of her talking, and you can see that there are kids there. So I don't know where this lie is coming from, that it's only 18 plus at the Ice Spice SpongeBob premiere event. That is the most outlandish statement ever. I don't know where that information came from. Maybe Plankton's trying to toss around a bunch of horseradish, but wherever it started, the genesis, it's not true. They're Schmeckeldorfing you with it. I don't think there's a chance for a misunderstanding where it's supposed to be an 18 plus only SpongeBob event, but they were letting kids in anyway with like their parental supervision. I doubt it, because why would there even be an 18 plus SpongeBob event for the SpongeBob movie, which is a family friendly children's film? Why would they host an exclusively adult only SpongeBob event? That would be really confusing. That would be an interesting choice. But again, based on all the evidence I can see from her talking to this room, as well as like the pictures she took with kids, I think I could say with a high level of confidence that this was an event attended by children, and she decided to wear this outfit, which I do not think is appropriate here. I think it's a really weird, peculiar choice of dress for her for an event like this, a kids movie, a kids premiere. It's just not the time nor the place to be wearing a see-through dress and a thong, having your whole keister out. Like, imagine I was voicing a character in the new Bluey film, right? I'm playing Bluey in Bluey the big budget blockbuster feature film, and I get invited out to the Bluey world premiere, and I scoot in sideways, get out of my car in a banana hammock, and I'm just screaming, "Bluey for life, yeah!" That'd be some freaky shit. Because it's just not appropriate attire for a kid's event to be wearing some shit like that. And I've seen some delusional takes on this, by the way. I saw some people trying to argue that what she's wearing is very in line for the SpongeBob cartoon itself, where like Patrick will have his butt out, or like SpongeBob's butt. And it's like, well, what's the big deal if Ice Spice does it too with her tuchus? And I have to wonder if you need to be institutionalized if you're actually trying to argue that. That is such a crazy thing to compare a cartoon gag moment with butt to a real life person going to a kid's event with her ass out. And this is a performer who is well known for sexual content in the first place. I think it's a very odd fit to have her be in the film in the first place. I said that the second that song dropped, I thought it was odd that they choose Ice Spice to do the big guy pants okay stuff when one of Ice Spice's biggest shticks, like her main thing and something she herself talks about, is how overtly sexual she is in her lyricism, in her dancing, and in her attire. It is weird that they'd even choose Ice Spice in the first place for it. But even going beyond that, the fact that she still maintains that at a kid's premiere is just not appropriate. And it's not comparable to SpongeBob or Patrick having a gag moment with their butt. That is a crazy thing to try and compare a cartoon to real life like that. That is unhinged lunacy, and you need to be evaluated. Then I also saw a lot of people saying, well, if you have an issue with this, you must have an issue with the beach too, because there's girls in bikinis at the beach. What if a kid sees that at the beach, huh? Where's the outrage there? And that is also a weak, stupid argument. That is swimming attire at a place where swimming takes place. Let's say there's an Arthur event coming up and they want to get excited about Arthur coming back, so they bring out a bunch of kids to a big premiere event and they bring out their celebrity speaker and they come out wearing a bikini. That's inappropriate. That's weird. Why did they decide to wear a bikini to a kid's event? There's no swimming or anything taking place. That doesn't check out. That's fucking peculiar. That's inappropriate. It's just that simple. I don't think this is that deep. I don't see how there's any kind of like debate. You can easily just recognize that maybe dressing like this for a kid's movie and a kid's premiere event just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not a good idea. And I saw people trying to argue that this is like one of her more modest fits, so she should be applauded for that. You're really going to sit there and try and tell me with a straight face that there is literally nothing else she can wear? It has to be like really revealing with her whole ass out type clothes? I find that hard to believe. Surely there were other wardrobe options, I would imagine, that would have made far more sense for an event like this. Anyway, just a pretty wacky situation here that I wanted to yap about a little bit. That's about it. See ya. I wasn't home much yesterday, so I missed a lot of the happenings from the last 24 hours, but today I happened to see a wacky headline. Nicki Minaj praises J.D. Vance as assassin as Erica Kirk sits next to her. This was apparently at something called AmFest, where Nicki Minaj went up on stage to celebrate Trump and a bunch of stuff or whatever, and then I guess while she was busy glazing and gobbling on, like, the administration's wiener, she tried to pay J.D. Vance a compliment by calling him an assassin, which obviously raises some eyebrows as Erica Kirk sits right next to her, whose husband was literally assassinated. Ordinarily, I'd put the clip here so you could hear it for yourself, but I don't want to take a chance of DMCA, especially with how rampant that kind of shit's been going on. You can watch it yourself if you want, though, but she immediately recognizes the blunder. She kind of scholars mated herself there by using that word. To me, it probably sounds like an Austin Powers type moment where it, don't say mole, don't say mole, don't say mole, mole. Where she was trying so hard not to use the word assassin, but then for some reason, her fucking neurons couldn't fire properly, and all she could think of for a compliment for J.D. Vance was that he's an assassin. And Erica Kirk tries to, dispel the awkwardness and, reassure her, it's okay, and try and make light of it and move on from it. But what a weird compliment to try and pay somebody. Who says that? Oh, this guy's, so epic. He's so awesome. He's an assassin. That's like something a middle schooler would say on fucking Xbox Live or something. What are you talking about? Who says that shit? Now, that's not the only thing I wanted to yap about here. Obviously, that's just a weird, wacky little thing. But Nicki Minaj's presence at an event like this is so head-scratching to me because she herself is not a U.S. citizen. I don't know how many people know this or how many people just forgot. She herself talks about not being a U.S. citizen and that she is literally an illegal immigrant. In 2018, she even made a whole statement about it with what was happening to immigration back then and how her heart was breaking for it, telling the story of how she came to this country at 5 years old, an illegal immigrant. She was discussing how she can't even imagine being separated from her parents at 5 years old and everything that was happening then. And since, she still has not become an American citizen. In 2024, only a year ago, she once again opened up reiterating, confirming she is still not an American citizen, despite paying so many millions in taxes and all that. So her going on stage yesterday and being like, the president is dashing and handsome, it gives me the same feeling as someone who's trying so hard to avoid getting in trouble by trying to butter up the person that can really fuck them. Oh, you're just so smart and striking. Devilishly talented, by the way. Did I tell you that? Honestly, I'd go as far as to call you a god, even an assassin. It feels like she's so over the top. Maybe she's worried about getting deported herself or something. So now she's trying to suckle the titty here of this administration and hide in its ranks as, a public figure. So now she's just stuck looking like a fucking imbecile. Yeah, this administration is perfect. Frosted Flakes, they're great. Yeah, who just said Epstein files? Someone shoot that guy. Yeah, us U.S. citizens. All of us, my fellow U.S. citizens, we gotta stick together. We love U.S. citizens like me, am I right? That kind of thing, she's cutting fucking WWE promos. But I think there also might be another explanation here. Again, just another game theory. Maybe she's not looking to protect herself. Maybe she's fishing for a pardon for her sex offender husband. Since Trump likes to hand out pardons like they're fucking Girl Scout cookies, I think there also might be this play from Nicki Minaj here to try and get one of those for her husband, Kenneth Petty, who is literally a registered sex offender. Maybe she's trying to make it so he no longer has to keep re-upping that and getting in trouble when he refuses to do so, like recently when he had to go under house arrest for failure to register as a sex offender. So perhaps maybe she's trying to get in their good graces so she can then float the idea to Trump about pardoning Kenneth. After the never-ending circus that has been the Epstein files, especially the most recent shenanigans here, it should be painfully obvious that the government is more than willing to bend over backwards to protect sex offenders and the most evil, heinous people on the planet imaginable. So it's not a far-fetched idea to think that maybe Nicki Minaj is making a play like that to try and get that special treatment for her husband. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I just found it to be a really interesting fit here. This is one of those situations, you know, the call's coming from inside the house. This shit feels a little odd because she herself is fundamentally the exact opposite of everything Amfest was presenting based on all the other clips I've seen. She is an illegal immigrant, she's not a US citizen, and her husband is a sex offender. I don't know, sports fans, maybe I'm on the crack pipe, but that doesn't exactly sound like the ingredients, the recipe to a perfect fit for the conference she was attending here. But, you know, what do I know at the end of the day? I just wanted to yap about it. That's about it. So yeah. You know what they say, you can't spell druid without D-U-I, and you're about to see the mythical Coors Light druid in full action here as she gets her 5th DUI, this time with her child in the car.
So how'd you end up in the ditch here?
Actually, I just found here and I just...
Okay.
I didn't end up a ditch.
Well, I'm sorry. You're in the grass line here. I just want to make sure you're okay.
Her reaction to that question of why she's in the ditch is perplexing to say the least. Her eyes get so wide I thought they were going to pop out of her skull. She's making the same face Tobey Maguire made in Spider-Man 2 when he realized everyone on the train just saw him without his mask on.
Can I just get your driver's license so I know who I'm talking to?
No, I actually don't have it with me. I'm so sorry.
So I know who I'm talking to.
I promise you. I'm trying to tell you the truth. I promise you.
I hear ya.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
That's okay.
Alright, how do you spell your last name?
The whole time the officer's speaking to her, she's doing some wacky, odd motions with her face like the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's. It seems like she's struggling to keep her eyes open and like focus on what's happening here. Like she's emoting the same way the NPCs in Fallout 4 do.
When I knocked on the window, she woke up and I said, "Are you okay?" Because I thought maybe she hit her head or something.
She's slurring her speech. I got an odor or something in there. I don't know if that's necessarily alcohol. Her pupils are huge.
Contacts here. Hi, you roll it all the way down. What's your name?
All I could see is a little boy, and I was like, well...
And she was completely passed out?
She was tipped over on the steering wheel.
So the lore breakdown is, she works nearby, was taking the trash out, and saw this vehicle here, and went up to check to see if everything was okay, because all she saw was like a child in the back seat, and then she saw that this lady was face down into the steering wheel, passed out, so then she put in the call, and that's why officers arrived at the scene here.
I see you got a little problem here, huh?
No. I'm good.
So what brings you back to the parking lot? Did you have an appointment?
To see you, yeah, we did, actually.
Where was your appointment?
He had an appointment.
Yeah.
Now, from what I can gather with these breadcrumbs she's dropping, she's in this parking lot because her son had a doctor's appointment, and she just got blackout drunk, passed out, and then cruised the vehicle into, like, this ditch area here. So I guess in order to get ready for the doctor's appointment for her child, she put on her coats and butt-chugged 5 Coors Lights on the way out, and then it led to all of this.
Okay, so obviously we have an odor of alcohol coming from you. Okay.
Hey, actually...
Hang on a second. So
No.
I'm gonna... So...
Never do this.
I have an odor of alcohol coming from the vehicle. Okay. How did you end up here?
How, what?
How did you end up here?
My son.
Okay,
Your son drove you?
I'm not from here, guys.
What do you mean, not from here? Like, from this planet? Because, my god, these are like some very uncanny, almost horror movie-esque motions she's making with her body here. So, she tries to say she's here because her son... And the officers interpret that as her trying to say the son was driving and the kid's like 6 years old. So unless he built himself a pair of stilts like Jimmy fucking Neutron, that kid's not reaching the pedals. I don't think he was the one behind the wheel of the vehicle. I think what she was trying to say is the reason she's, you know, kind of torpedoed her car in this parking lot is because her son had a doctor's appointment here. And she was just so fucking drunk she couldn't get the information across
Okay.
Sorry.
That wasn't the
I'm
question.
so sorry.
So why are you
That
here in this parking lot? I'm just curious how you got here.
was- So, I'm sorry.
She didn't have one on her. Her name's Mary.
How did you get here?
Huh?
What made you come to this parking lot?
I really apologize, but I'm not really.
I'm asking you a question. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you a question. How did you get here?
Sorry.
Why are you here in this parking lot?
It doesn't take a super genius to recognize she's very fucked up. It is a miracle she didn't get herself or her child or another innocent person on the road killed here, because it doesn't even seem like she knows where she is at this moment. And she's making, like, expressions the same way a dog does when you ask it who chewed up the sofa and it knows it's guilty. It is impressive just how many different facial expressions she's going through here. It's like in Super Mario 64, the intro, where you, like, move around his face in a bunch of wacky ways. That's what she's doing. Like, with her teeth and everything. Just hitting some of that. You know, it's more akin to, like, that infamous Charles Manson clip where he's like, I'm nobody. And he does, like, all that weird shit. That's what she's doing right now. She is so unbelievably intoxicated. I think that she was trying to make, like, a conscious effort with her face to appear sober, but just can't quite do it and doesn't recognize everything that's happening.
Okay. Is your boyfriend his dad?
Yeah.
No.
No.
We need to. No. I apologize.
Are you warm? Are you warm in the car? Yeah. Okay, good.
Does your car normally smell like alcohol?
No.
Where were you coming from?
Huh?
Where were you coming from?
Are we talking
The
about?
road.
The road. No. Were you coming from your house?
Yes.
You were coming from your house.
That was a checkmate maneuver from this lady here. The chess master made her move. Where are you coming from? The road. Chef's kiss. Then she just drops the mic. Damn. She played hardball.
Okay. So then how did we end up here in this parking lot?
Because I came here from the road.
Okay. So you just came off the road and just came into the parking lot?
Oconomowoc.
Okay.
Well, the more I hear from her side of things, the more I think maybe I was too hasty to judge here. Maybe she's not intoxicated. Maybe she's just experiencing the sixth dimension. She's in like a whole different wavelength right now, but she's starting to really make a lot of sense when you stop to think about it. This could be a huge misunderstanding here, officers.
Mary, do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, I actually do.
You need an ambulance? Okay. Why do you feel you need an ambulance? What's going on so I can tell them why you need an ambulance?
I can't breathe, actually.
You can't breathe? You're breathing pretty well.
What did I do? Can you please tell me what I did?
I can just feel every neuron in Mary's brain banging against the sides of her cranium, desperately trying to get through. Mary, don't ask for the ambulance. Don't say yes to the ambulance. It's a trap. It's gonna be the biggest regret ever when you see that fucking bill they slap you with at the end. Don't fall for it. Don't say yes to the ambulance.
Well, have you turn to face me, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to follow tip my finger with your eyes and your eyes only. Do not move your head. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Move your eyes and your eyes only. Top of my finger. Follow it. No, leave your head straight.
Sorry.
Straight on with me.
Sorry.
With just your eyes, please. Okay? Got that? It's pretty simple. You look at my finger, or you looking at the ground? Okay. All right. Actually, come over here. We'll utilize this line here, okay?
They had to break out further testing because she fucking aced the follow the finger brain buster there. She seems like she's in a state to pass the bar, I'll tell you what. She is crushing these field sobriety tests. Wait till you see how she walks this line.
1, 2, on your... Stop. Don't start the test, please. Okay. When you get to your 9th step, you're going to take a series of small steps like this, turning around. Watch me. You're going to take 9 heel-to-toe steps going down the line. 1, 2, all the way to 9. Count your steps out loud. Keep your hands down to your sides. Right foot in front of your left foot, like I explained to you.
All right.
Okay. 6. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, come on back over here.
She did so well in the first portion of this test, she skips the second. Because she came over there, hit him with the fucking Hezi Jimbo, and then dunked on their ass with that beautifully perfect straight line that she just walked. So now, They're going to try and get her with a third one.
So this next test is going to be a one-leg stand. So when I tell you to, you're going to raise your foot approximately 6 inches off the ground. And you're going to count in the manner of 1001, 1002, 1003, and so on until I tell you to stop. Okay, you may begin.
Sorry.
You're right. Keep going. Jeremy, you have a PBT. All right, you can stop. How much would you say you've had to drink today?
Actually, nothing.
Yeah, that sounds about right based on everything I've seen here. I don't hold it against her for not being able to pass with flying colors on the hold your leg up test. There was clearly a banana peel that she was slipping on there like it's fucking Mario Kart, so that one just needs to be thrown out. They wiped their ass with that. Inconclusive evidence there.
Right now, because he's downtown looking for you. He just called in a well-being check.
No.
And the first place he went is he walked to all the bars because you were supposed to bring him to the hospital.
I would never do this.
You're not at a bar, but you're drinking beer in the parking lot and throwing it out.
Stop it.
So she declined the PBT invitation there. She said, I will not be attending that hootenanny, so now they're going to take her in for further evaluation. The father has called in a wellness check because she was supposed to be bringing the child to the doctor's appointment or the hospital or whatever. Didn't happen, so he started checking the bars, apparently, looking for her there, because this seems to be a common occurrence with her. And now the officers are going to be picking up the father to bring him to the scene. They also apparently located some Coors Light that had been tossed aside here, and the father confirms that that's her beverage of choice. So the dots are starting to connect a little bit here.
How many times have you been arrested for operating while intoxicated? Never?
Your husband says 4 times. Does that sound about right to you?
No. He's not my husband.
Well, okay.
Can you please just stop, judging me,
These all-
please?
I'm not judging you. I'm asking you questions.
Hey Mary, I'm judging you though. DUIs are just completely fucking inexcusable. This is her 5th one now. She had 4 prior DUIs, yet she still gets to get behind a wheel of a vehicle. I don't get it. I truly don't. Why does she still have her fucking license? It seems like the only time she even gets in the fucking car, even with her child in there, is if she already can't even remember her own name because she drank so much. It is so dangerous. She's putting her life, her child's life, and everyone else's life on the road at risk by drinking while fucking hammered like this. And it's something she seems to do often. She has been caught and charged with DUI 5 times. Now let's think for a moment, how many other times has she driven while completely fucking blackout drunk that she just didn't get arrested for? They didn't catch her. It's just crazy. I don't know why she's able to just keep getting her license back. She treats beer like it's Popeye's spinach and it somehow makes her turbocharged and a great driver or something.
Prescription drugs for anything?
Yeah.
What for?
Panic attacks, anxiety.
Because her pupils are as big as her eyes right now. And we have fresh Coors Light cans in the snow. At her drink of choice?
Yeah.
Okay.
She
No.
lives in Pennsylvania. She's here for a visit.
Did she come from Pennsylvania today?
No.
Okay, so she's been out here for a couple days. Weeks. Okay. Officer Kraleski is obviously arresting her for an operating while intoxicated. Having the child in the car ups everything higher, and then having 4 priors, it's going to be felony levels, and then she resisted, fought, and kicked us. We were trying to do it back here.
I obviously cut out a lot here when they were putting her in the squad car. She was spamming some low kicks there for a minute. Can't really see them all too well, and there definitely wasn't a ton of elbow grease behind them or anything, considering she can hardly fucking stand or keep her eyes open. But even still, they're mentioning that as like her, striking at them while trying to put her in the vehicle. They found Coors cans there, which, hey, they're going to have to run the fingerprints on there because it could have been that dastardly Coors Light ferry that comes through and just happens to sometimes just fucking drop Coors Light cans in the middle of nowhere like it's fucking loot boxes. Maybe those aren't hers. And maybe it's just a big old quinky dink that, according to the father, that's her drink of choice. We don't know for sure. That's all remains to be seen.
Okay.
I was gonna feel bad for you.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Did she get you too?
You okay?
Breathe. Let the adrenaline
They're
slow
a
down.
bunch of idiots.
Now you just sound like my father.
Okay.
To ensure officer safety, the suspect is restrained in a chair and a spit hood is put over her head as she's transported to jail. Her blood alcohol content was determined to be .236, which is almost 3 times the legal limit. She was charged with her 5th or 6th offense of operating a vehicle while intoxicated with a passenger under 16 years old, resisting obstructing, and 2 counts of battery to a law enforcement officer. She is innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law.
So the father then picked up the child. Firefighters were keeping him like warm and away from all of like the hoopla that was happening with his mother, because that is just such a fucking terrible thing. My heart breaks for that child. That's just terrible to grow up with a mom like that. Now, when they got her to the hospital, they had a warrant to draw her blood to confirm intoxication and rule out the possibility of it being like some kind of, maybe reaction to prescription drugs that she does have and that kind of thing. But while trying to draw that blood, she was less than cooperative, you could say. It started to look like an exorcism scene in there for a moment. She was wiggle worming and squirming, apparently even like biting. That officer, I guess, got a bloody nose from all of it at some point. I couldn't really see that on the body cam. I don't know how she got up there and got him. Maybe with like a headbutt or something. I couldn't tell you. But it was pretty chaotic in there. But when they got her blood, they confirmed, no, she's definitely drunk. Like, very drunk. That's the root cause of all of this. Now, if you want my Neanderthal perspective on it, I really think she should lose her license. I know, maybe I'm talking crazy. Maybe I'm boofing the crazy pills. But I just think it's pretty clear she shouldn't be trusted behind the wheel of a vehicle. This is completely fucking unacceptable. It's just a matter of time until someone dies because of this from her. But I just have a sneaking suspicion that's not going to happen. I bet she'll be back on the road pretty soon. And that is very scary. Anyway, I just wanted to yap about this a bit. That's it. Yep. It's 5 a.m. I got a butt full of poop, but I cannot peel myself away from the computer to go take care of that business. I'm refusing nature's call, and it's not insomnia that's keeping me awake right now. We are in the middle of what I believe to be an actual big development here in the Epstein case. CoffeeZilla just made a video talking about this, as well as giving instructions on how you yourself can get your hands on this latest dump of documents that wasn't supposed to go out yet, but had been accessible to people savvy enough to get their hands on it, and now it's been disseminated. And these are some documents here that I imagine they were probably going to do a little bit more to hide some names and hide certain elements of, because, hooey, boy howdy, I imagine Trump and a lot of the elites are doing this right now. Yeesh. There is some big stuff in here, and I'm not saying that sarcastically this time around. Yes, the vast majority is still like hundreds of pages of completely blacked out, redacted garbage, like it's completely useless. But some of them that they didn't get a chance to go through and just, fucking vanish to the shadow realm has eye-opening stuff that directly contradicts a narrative that the government's been running with for a while.
Here's what that looks like. It's volume 8 of the files, but you can see right now that they've only released 7 data sets. And so myself, the guys at Jmail and the guys at DropSite, we've been investigating this. I've partnered with them to kind of look at some of these files, and they got access to volume 8 early. You would just type it in the URL. It wasn't like indexable on search, but you could just type in the specific URL and it would just come up. You could download the entire zip file, and that's what we did.
Before anyone tries to cry foul questioning the authenticity of these documents here, this is the actual volume 8. They just made it accessible by pure accident because everyone that seems to be working at the highest level is actually like a thumb-sucking fucking brain-dead moron.
Specifically, I want to draw your attention immediately to the 10 co-conspirators that are mentioned in some of these emails in 2019. Now, this is just alarming stuff because prior to this, remember that all we really had was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the only people who have ever faced any charges at all. Ghislaine Maxwell, the only one who actually faced consequences, right? But in 2019, apparently there were 10 co-conspirators. Now, the people who were sending this to and from have been blacked out, but at the bottom we see that this is the Violent Crime Section, Crimes Against Human Trafficking Unit.
That is huge information, especially when you consider clowns like Kash Patel saying that there's no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking victims to others or anything like that, making it seem like it was a solo operation and Ghislaine Maxwell, was second fiddle and that's it. And also Maxwell, worth remembering, isn't exactly facing the harshest of punishment. Not real justice there now that she's at a summer camp prison for a little bit petting service animals. So, I want to also make a side note. Kash Patel needs to be in jail. Like, he literally needs to be arrested. I don't know why perjury isn't something that's taken seriously anymore. There is irrefutable evidence Kash Patel has lied on record about this case. It's crazy that he just gets to do that with pure immunity. But I won't start shitting and spitting about that too hard right now. The important thing about this piece that Compilation is highlighting is that we now have information that confirms that authorities were looking into other co-conspirators in this operation. Co-conspirators that clearly they must have dropped the leads at some point. They stopped sniffing around, said not worth pursuing, but at one point they did have other co-conspirators and apparently quite a bit of information on them, as the documents seem to hint at and reveal and talk around. So, what the fuck happened, and why are they now pretending that there aren't co-conspirators when we now have hard proof that there was and that they were pursuing for however brief a time?
And additionally, some of the details on this are revealed later because we see this subject line. It says co-conspirators at the top. And it says, blank does not need to head out. We made contact with blank last night in New York City. Blank last night in New York. Contact was made with blank, blank, and blank. By the way, I love how these potential co-conspirators are people who are being blacked out. Like, why? I thought the whole point of this was you couldn't redact people for personal information reasons or for public embarrassment. You could only redact on the basis of it being a victim. And I'm not sure how these people could possibly be victims here.
Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Has anything been redacted on that basis?
Absolutely, positively not.
Liar, liar, plants for hire. His nose about to grow fucking 5 feet with that big old fib. This is inarguable that they are redacting names of people that aren't victims here. As Coffeezilla points out, these are co-conspirators. The evidence is overwhelming. There's no wiggle room here, no way to weasel out some kind of explanation for why these would be justifiably censored and blacked out and redacted. These are clearly not victims. This is about the co-conspirators. So there should be no exceptions made. Their names should be revealed here in these documents, but they're not. It's been redacted. Why? Who are they covering up for? And why? This is illegal. You cannot do that. And this is inarguably them redacting names of people that are not victims. It's craziness, and it's so blatant, it's right in your face. Like, the proof is in the pudding, and yet I know people are going to deny it still. It's fucking unhinged. There is no world where you can spin a narrative here where these redactions in these places make sense, because there's no way that what they're talking about right there can possibly be minors or victims. These are co-conspirators that are being protected. That's fucking insanity.
But anyways, you can see that it says attempts were made to blank and Brunel, that's Jean-Luc Brunel, the famous who's now dead. Blank is confirmed to live in New York, was away for the holiday weekend. We did not have a good address, but an attempt was made in New York. Attempts are made to Maxwell today. Blank, you get it. Like, it's all the people they suspected this whole time are redacted, of course. And then they say, I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner. Now, that's a reference to Les Wexner, the former CEO of Victoria's Secret. This is huge. We've long suspected that he was, of course, one of the co-conspirators. And obviously, the fact the FBI suspected it isn't a 100% proof confirmation. But clearly, they were serving grand jury subpoenas. I mean, that must be who they're talking about, one wealthy businessman in Ohio, because later it's confirmed by this whole idea of Ohio contacting Wexner.
Even though most of the names are redacted, it's not all of them. So Wexner's name appears here, as well as Brunel, but as Coffeezilla mentioned, he's dead. He's already burning in hell right now. But Wexner, this was someone that they grand jury subpoenaed, seemingly, and I don't think I've heard a peep about any kind of consequences or justice being served over there, or any kind of, like, pursuit on analyzing his connections here to all of this, even though he is here in one of the emails here about being a co-conspirator. What happened there? The well ran dry or something? Like, it turns out he was completely innocent? That seems kind of hard to believe. That'd be a surprising, shocking twist, more so than a fucking Darman video. I don't know about that. That seems a little fishy. And again, why are other names here blacked out? Why are co-conspirators being protected? Why aren't their identities being revealed? Food for thought.
And you can see at the bottom, this is from the FBI New York. When you get a chance, give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators. This is really bad to know that we knew as early as 2019 the right people to target, and yet our FBI, who's had evidence of this the entire time, or leads on it, has declined to prosecute, right? Because this is what the FBI now tells us. Oh, don't bother. Don't worry about it. That's what they wanted us to believe in July. Fast forward to December, we find out there's 10 guys that they knew about since like 6 years ago. It's insane.
It is insane because their position has been like, oh, there was nothing actionable in there, so, stop asking us. Just pipe down. We're busy covering shit up. Stop asking questions, has basically been the philosophy. Our hands are tied. There was nothing. It's all a hoax. Actually, no, the files are on Pam Bondi's desk. No, the files don't exist. It's all a hoax. Wait, actually, here's a ton of fucking files. Nothing's actionable, though. And according to Kash Patel, it was just Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody else. Why? It doesn't go deeper than that. That's it. Case closed. It's a fucking mess. It's a complete circus. And now that we have this kind of information out there, it's even more sickening to know that they are just blatantly protecting these pedophiles, these evil, evil people that engaged in unthinkably heinous actions. They are still getting away with it. And they know, and have known since 2019 apparently, that there are others out there, still at large, and are just not doing anything about it, and would instead rather lie, saying, oh, there's nothing actionable or anything. Yeah, there was really nothing in there at all. In fact, it was all make-believe. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein was never real in the first place. Jeffrey Epstein was the friends made along the way. What are you guys talking about? It's so absurd. It is downright diabolical. The corruption is so blatant, it is right in your face. And even when we are getting drip-fed the tiniest tiddlywinks of information about this case that have been heavily redacted, mind you, we are still seeing just how depraved this is. There is so much evidence that they can't even sweep it all under the rug. We are still finding just how bad this is. Now just imagine what they're keeping from you and covering up and what they've already probably burned and fucking snapped out of existence. And imagine if they actually did follow the rules here and only redact victim information. Just imagine how many people we could point to as blatantly corrupt and needing to be thrown in jail. For the last 6 years, having this kind of information and not acting on it, and to this day, having so many people in the highest levels of government denying its existence and trying to pretend that it's all fucking phony baloney, make-believe, dirty barnacles, horseradish, it's a hoax, it's not real, that kind of thing. Can you imagine if this information did actually properly release with only victims' information redacted?
Even over here, we see that in one of the lawsuits, I believe this is with Maxwell, the government actually wanted to refer to people at trial as co-conspirators of the defendant, aka Maxwell, for the purposes of a rule. And then they say Jeffrey Epstein, and then there are two names listed there who are going to be listed as co-conspirators. Again, who are those people? We were told that the only co-conspirator now is Maxwell, and if you don't believe that, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. But back in 2020, this was an idea not just promulgated by wackos, it was promulgated by who? The FBI themselves, the Department of Justice. Look at this. Co-conspirator question transcript. This is from USA NYS. They say, question, when Jeffrey Epstein died, a lot of people asked, who's next? Is the government going to hold people who are accused of helping him recruit these girls? Are they going to hold them accountable? And then the answer is, well, I'll note that the original charges against Jeffrey Epstein contained a conspiracy charge, and we allege that there were conspirators involved. Jeffrey Epstein couldn't have done what he did without the assistance of others. And I can assure you that our investigation is moving forward, except I guess not.
Yeah, that investigation hit a brick wall. That investigation went off the tracks and fell into a fucking nitroglycerin facility and just blew up, because that shit has not been pursued clearly. As CoffeeZilla mentions, this idea of there being more than just Epstein and Maxwell, the highest level of authority has been saying, you're crazy if you believe that, you are falling for, nonsense fairy tale garbage. But even the FBI years ago was saying the same things internally here. And even agreeing that it couldn't have been done alone. They were even moving to call other people associated with this co-conspirators. Information redacted on those names there. But they knew certain individuals to target for this that they were going to be looking into with the investigation and assuring them that the investigation is moving forward on these co-conspirators, and then it doesn't. Why did it magically stop? What happened? What changed? And why, if all of this information is still at the government's fingertips, do they continue to lie and pretend as though it doesn't exist and that there's nothing here at all that the public didn't already know? They've already given out justice by sending Maxwell to a summer camp. That's all they can do. That's the only power they can muster here.
What's even more concerning is our president also seems concerned with the wrong people.
The victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, but I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they're giving their photos of me, too. Everybody was friendly with this guy. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Bill Clinton's a big boy. He can handle it. But you probably have pictures being exposed of other people that innocently met Jeffrey Epstein years ago, many years ago.
What an interesting perspective. That is a fascinating thing for him to harp on so much about, we got to think about all the innocent people that met with Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we should be focusing on, and how damaging and how traumatizing this must be for them, those innocent people that hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, all the lawyers and bankers and all of them. Heart breaks for them. Bill Clinton, I can't believe he got wrapped up in this. Love that guy. This is a crazy set of circumstances. He's a big boy, though. Side note, Bill Clinton apparently just put out a statement this afternoon saying release the entirety of the files. So Bill Clinton's like, just do it, pussy. That was a crazy plot twist I certainly didn't expect, because I can't imagine a world where Bill Clinton isn't also wrapped up in this shit. I think that guy is beyond guilty. I bet he had a whole fucking lodge named after him on Epstein's Island. I find it hard to believe that somehow he'd walk out of this squeaky clean. Sounds like mutually assured destruction here, and Bill Clinton's just throwing his meat on the table, challenging him to do so, and I guess we'll see how it all shakes out from there. The thing is that CoffeeZilla is pointing out, Trump's focus is more about there's innocent people here. We have to keep in mind, think of the innocent multi-millionaire and billionaires that didn't know Jeffrey Epstein for all the bad stuff. They just knew him for cracking jokes and stuff, and just being a guy, just being one of the dudes. Why is that what you're focusing on? Why wouldn't you instead be focusing on trying to catch all of the people that have just completely been swept under the rug? Why would that not be the focus? Why instead would you be pretending none of this is real, it's all a hoax? That's very peculiar. I think that's pretty concerning. And when you do have an opportunity to release the files, why are they so heavily redacted with hundreds and hundreds of pages completely blacked out? That looks very guilty. That looks like a really big admission of guilt.
Now, I'll be honest, he gets off track from here, but the point he was making is that those poor, innocent, bankers who were meeting with Epstein, the poor lawyers who were meeting with Epstein, all of Epstein's friends are just caught up in this unfortunate thing. And it's just such a reversal of what previously the DOJ and FBI believed. In fact, they believed it so much that they got a federal search warrant for the SDNY, and they got it, and part of the seizable data, part of the stuff that they commanded them to seize as part of the search warrant, and part of it says evidence concerning the identity or location of co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein, including blank and Ghislaine Maxwell. So again, who is blank? Well, they keep redacting the names of these co-conspirators, uncharged, remember, and now they're saying we have no evidence to charge anybody. Clearly, they had evidence for a search warrant, and it's just completely ridiculous that some of this stuff is redacted and that we're viewing the rich and powerful people who are mentioned as the victims here.
Once again, just further evidence that they are indeed scrubbing the name of co-conspirators. These are not victims or minors that they are taking the names out of here. Thus, they are breaking the rules of how this is supposed to go. It is blatant, this cover-up. There is no world where that is somehow a victim there, yet their name has been redacted. Why? Why are they hiding the co-conspirators' identities? It's fucking outrageous. And people should be very mad about this. But I have no doubt, again, it's 5 a.m. right now, so I haven't seen like the full response to all of this now being out there, but I know there's going to be people that are butt-chugging the Kool-Aid to such an unbelievable degree that the delusion has fully taken hold that they're going to go through these mental gymnastics to explain why, actually, there's nothing fishy going on here. This is totally normal. They did everything by the book, and you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Clearly the most transparent administration in American history at work here, obviously. Which just, again, you have so much evidence to prove that this is not by the book here. This is indeed a co-conspirator's name and many other examples of co-conspirators' names being redacted. Not victims, not minors. Unless they're trying to say that these names here are victims, these people that are potentially co-conspirators of Epstein, they're also victims. And in that case, you need to be institutionalized ASAP if that's what you think. That is a fucking crazy take. But I guess it's not the most outrageous thing to picture someone believing when you have someone like Trump who continues to just drive that point home, where it seems like he's not even really focused on the actual victims of Epstein and all of his clients. He's instead more focused on like, oh, the innocent guys, we used to, just go watch the ball game together with Jeffrey Epstein. They had no idea, and my heart breaks for them. Oh, Bill Clinton playing a song on my world's smallest violin. Like, he's just constantly bringing up, like, oh, so many innocent people. They're getting wrapped up in all this Epstein hoopla. I can't believe we're still talking about it. You're a bad person if you're talking about it, which is something he did say, by the way, not too long ago. I highly recommend you go check out the rest of CoffeeZilla's video. He also gives you the tutorial on how you can get your hands on these files as well to check them all for yourself. Now, after combing through them, there were some other big eyebrow-raising moments. One of them, CoffeeZilla also tweeted out. This is from a U.S. attorney who wrote in 2020, Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported or that we were aware, including during the period we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case. And then it concludes with, on 2 other flights, 2 of the passengers respectively were women who would be possible witnesses in a Maxwell case. We've just finished reviewing the full records, more than 100 pages of very small script, and didn't want any of this to be a surprise down the road. I noticed Trump's name in quite a few documents in this most recent volume. This has been one that is obviously pretty interesting because it's talking about his frequent flyer miles that he was accumulating with old Epstein Airlines, about how he had flown on the airlines far more than they had thought at the time. Now, whether that's before or after all the flight logs, which does show Trump flying on the planes quite a bit, I don't know. Maybe there's more that weren't on the flight logs. I'm not sure. Again, all of this is still brand new. And I guess as more gets combed through, we'll get more and more information. But like I said, I have been glued to this for hours now. And I really just wanted to yap about it because there is some crazy shit in here. This is finally, for the first time in a long time, big new information in regards to this case and people involved in it, and exposing a blatant cover-up of very important information from these files. Now, it's very late in the evening, and all of this is still very fresh. I have no doubt there will be a lot more that comes from this, so I'm just going to try and keep my finger on the pulse of it. I already have no doubt there will be a large number of people that'll plug their ears to it and downplay the significance. I already saw a crazy tweet from some psychopath named Mila. I have no idea who this troglodyte is, but they are now already singing a different tune about why does anyone care about the Epstein files, which is something that was previously tried. Now, in the wake of all of this, it's being dusted off to try again. I truly hope there won't come a time where people start to say that this isn't a big deal, that this isn't something people should care about. This is a massive deal, and everyone should care about this because it implicates the people that control your life. The people in the highest level of power in this country that are actively making decisions on your life and how everything unfolds in this country. And if the people that are in these positions are these evil pedophiles that have been getting away with these crimes, then there's a huge problem there. They need to be held accountable and face justice. You shouldn't want to be ruled and controlled by people that were Epstein clients. Like, I don't know how insane people have become recently, where now they are with a straight face trying to say that Epstein isn't something you should care about. Get over it. That blows my mind. Mila Joy, I suppose, gets her joy from the suffering of children and does so with a big smile on her face. She doesn't care that children were being trafficked and raped by potentially the most powerful people in this country. She doesn't care. She doesn't want them unmasked or thrown in jail. She couldn't care less about that. That's pretty fucking unhinged, Mila. All I can do is cross my fingers and hope and pray that there's not a ton of people with a poisoned, smooth brain like she has. I am hoping there's sensible people out there that are seeing all of this unfold in real time and finally having that come to Jesus moment, that eureka moment of, wow, there's something very, very bad afoot here. But anyway, I'll stop yapping about it for now. I guess we'll see what else comes from Volume 8 here of the Epstein Files. Huge hats off to everyone that played a role in helping preserve that initial dump of these files, because I have a sneaking suspicion when these are officially released, when they pop up again, they might not be in the same state. I'm thinking there might be further redactions to them. It's just a hunch. I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya. I was going to wait a bit longer before drooling all over this topic, just to see if anything would come from it since it's such a big deal. But I've now very much learned my lesson that there is never going to be anything that comes from anything Epstein related. That's basically how it seems. So I'm sure you've seen by now that with all of those redacted files that they've been farting out, you can actually unredact a lot of them yourself, and you don't even need a double-digit IQ to do it. Here's a quick tutorial that even a Neanderthal can follow along with.
Redacted, so you can go ahead and scroll down till you get to a redacted area. Here's a redacted area right here. Guess what? If you want to look at these files, all you got to do is copy it and paste it into Microsoft Word, and guess what? All the files are unredacted. There it is. So go back to justice.org, find all those files, and start unredacting before they figure out how to stop you.
I've seen only a teensy tiny bit of media coverage on this, not a whole lot of buzz generated from the unredacting techniques here, but from the couple that I've seen, they say things like this: hackers unredact Epstein files. Hackers didn't do it. Your fucking grandpappy sitting down in front of his goddamn iPad could do it too. There's no hacking here. It's Control-C, Control-V. Holy shit. My god, he's like an elite XD hacksaw. Wow. Yeah, it really is that easy. You don't have to have a big brain like Jimmy Neutron for this here. And it doesn't work for all the files, but it works for a good portion of them. And what you will find when you unredact a lot of this is that they very clearly have not complied with the law. They are not following the rules of the redactions, which, mind you, are supposed to be reserved exclusively for victims and minors, that kind of thing. But when you unredact a lot of this information, you are finding information that is not related to a victim, a minor, anything like that at all. There are numerous examples of these improper redactions being applied to these files here. There are more examples of that than there are of me being short. You can find so fucking many. And it's kind of like a lot of crickets in mainstream journalism right now in regards to this unredaction technique a lot of people have employed on TikTok, and even like Asmongold has done it on stream as well. And what they're finding is, yeah, it is inarguable that these redactions are not following the rules. There's like this article here that's written about like the redactions on 184 through 192 that were describing taxes paid by companies incorporated by Epstein properties that were not on the balance sheet. And At the end, it even says it's unclear how property material complies with the redaction standard under the law. An inquiry to the Department of Justice has not yet been answered, and it probably won't be answered because the sad reality of it is law doesn't apply to people at a certain level of power. The law is like simply here for plebeians, it seems. And it's not even subtle. Fucking goofball Kash Patel can go under oath and lie out of his ass out the wazoo till the cows come home with a straight face and a limp dick talking about how they don't have any credible evidence that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to anyone, so it's just Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, that's it. If you believe anything else, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. And now with these files, we have provable evidence that they at least knew of 10 other co-conspirators that apparently they just decided to throw in the garbage can and never pursue. But we have so much evidence to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt he is lying, yet he won't face any perjury charges, he won't be arrested, he'll just keep fucking cruising podcasts like they're glory holes here about how he's doing such a good job and puffing up his chest and shit. None of these people that are just blatantly lying and breaking the law will ever be held accountable here. All of these improper redactions that don't comply with the law, don't comply with the rules here, everyone responsible will not face any repercussions. I'm so confident in this, it's fucking sickening. Nothing's going to happen. And it is so incredibly sad. And not only is nothing going to happen, nothing's going to happen and people are going to cheer for that too. I've already seen the narrative shift to like, who cares about the Epstein files, and all these crazy mental gymnastics to downplay the significance of the biggest child sex trafficking operation in our country's history, where there are still unbelievable amounts of people that got away with these heinous crimes, still potentially in the highest levels of government, and people are just saying like, doesn't matter. That's not the important stuff. And make no mistake, this wasn't some innocent whoops-a-daisy where they accidentally redacted information that they weren't supposed to, but they were trying their best to be super transparent and comply with the law. This was on purpose. It's by design. This is a cover-up. It's not a conspiracy. It's in front of your face. You can unredact the information yourself, and it doesn't take a lot of technical prowess to do so. You can confirm this yourself. They are trying to protect these pedophiles. They are running defense for evil, evil people that they have knowingly collected all this information on and decided to do nothing with for years. Not just this administration, the last administration too, obviously, but the point is, right now, they're still doing all they can to protect these people. That is unacceptable in a sane society. And anyone who writes that off as like not a big deal is a fucking lunatic. Like beyond pathetic loser worm. Now, if you're wondering how this even happened with being able to unredact this yourself, is because so many people working in the government are just actually incompetent. I don't mean that like exaggeratory. I mean like they legitimately like diaper wetting, paint chip eating fucking idiots over there. So the likely explanation here is they used the highlighter tool to black out the information, but they didn't actually redact it. So when you copy and paste it, it's still there. They didn't even actually redact it. That is how bad at their jobs they are. And I've seen a theory floating around that maybe this is on purpose from a whistleblower who was tasked with redacting information but wanted it to get into the hands of the American public, so they instead did like the highlighter tool as opposed to redacting it. And I'd be willing to motorboat those titties, play ball with that idea, if we hadn't seen so many examples of just pure incompetence at the highest level. I truly just think it's clear that the people in these positions are just like actual fedora tipping Reddit twerps, like based on how they shitpost on Twitter and everything, and that they legit just can't do their jobs very well. Side note, anyone remember this little golden nugget where they literally rickrolled the Epstein files release, treating the most notorious, infamous child sex trafficker, as well as all of the information in regards to his clients and all of these evil crimes, as a joke? Anyone remember that? I think it's pretty evident that a lot of the people in these positions are actually just fucking dumb. So I'm not willing to believe that this was some kind of internal whistleblower trying to do the right thing. I just think that they are actually fucking lobotomites, just genuinely stupid, and didn't realize that blackout highlighter doesn't actually redact the information. It's wild they can't even do the simplest things correctly, like redact information. You can literally click like 2 buttons in order to do that. And they can't even figure that much out. They are knowingly making a conscious decision to violate the law here in regards to these Epstein file redactions. And even while doing that, they can't even figure out how to redact the information properly. Thus, they get caught with their pants down. They can't even do the cover-up correctly. And still, even though their whole ass is out, goat seed, on full display for everyone, every single human being on the planet that wants to download the files and unredact it themselves, they can see that they broke the law by redacting things that aren't minors and aren't victims. Even this being 100% confirmed will still probably not lead to a single person being fired or a single individual in a higher level of power here even facing some finger wagging. It's just that bad right now. They can do anything they want with complete immunity. And it's just so outrageous. It's infuriating. I had to yap about this a bit because I've now learned that there won't be anything that comes from it. So might as well blabber about it now. That's really about it. See ya. Boy howdy, I can't believe it. The title is not clickbait. This is big. Color me blue and call me a smurf. I'm looking real stupid right now because I've been quite the Scrooge bah humbugging saying that it'll never happen. They'll never release the Epstein files. And look what happens. Random Friday evening, they drop these puppies. Oh, you know, the same Epstein files that the government also tried to say aren't real are actually a huge hoax and you're an idiot if you believe in them. They're like the Tooth Fairy or something. No such thing. Oh, well, here's those Epstein files that we said not long ago weren't real, by the way. Finally, all of the information on all of these evil pedophiles right here at our fingertips. We get one sentence and then pretty much everything else redacted. And this isn't some isolated incident where I'm cherry-picking shit. The bulk of these files are heavily redacted, and heavily doesn't even do it justice. It's so beyond that. Like, it is redacted to a comical degree where it would be laughable if it wasn't just so blatantly evil. Like, look at the thumbnail here. You could close your eyes and see the same thing that these files show you, which is just nothing. Darkness. I always said if they do release it, it'll probably be heavily redacted. I didn't even expect it to be this extreme. This is crazy. They don't even let like a couple of like rogue words fly, like random like the or and. It's all just blacked out emptiness. They released hundreds of pages of it's unfucking believable. Yeah, we've really got these evil pedophiles on the ropes now that the most transparent administration in history has dropped these puppies fresh on our laps here. Look at this. Wow. We've really got them now. We've got them cornered. Surely they'll be held accountable with this out there.
We'll talk about blacking out. I don't know if I can get a close-up of my phone. This is one of the documents that the Justice Department released. It's 100 pages.
Right.
This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see. It's all black. It's just 100 pages of redaction. That's the transparency we're getting here.
Right, and I'll point to...
This is like the LaCroix of Epstein files, where it's the idea of the files themselves, not actually providing anything. Imagine scrolling through those 100 pages of just pure void emptiness. What the fuck? That is absurd. Now, it's not just these empty files that they plopped out there in the open. They did also provide a lot of new photos that show people like Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, as well as like Chris Tucker, even Michael Jackson. Like, there were a large amount of photos that weren't previously public. And in those photos, there are individuals whose identity is redacted. They have like the giant black square over them. They've been censored. And I thought that was supposed to be for victims, you know? But according to what I read, this actually comes from Fox News. They said the Justice Department redacted the names and identifiers of victims. Fox News Digital has learned that the same redaction standards were applied to politically exposed individuals and government officials. What the fuck? Why would those same redaction standards be applied to politically exposed individuals? That's like the most important individual to be exposed in these Epstein files. Why would that under any circumstances be suitable for a redaction? That's fucking crazy. So, like, they can just be censored out like it's fucking Super Smash Bros. Melee when you're about to unlock a new fighter through, like, a challenge approaching you. Why? That makes no sense. That should just be reserved solely for the victims here. I don't understand, if this is true, why they would be able to redact that kind of information on politically exposed individuals. And it doesn't apply to all politically exposed individuals, clearly, because Bill Clinton is completely unmasked here. He is just like raw out in the open in these photos, as well as others, like I mentioned. So it was, I guess there was exceptions for some of them. I'm not exactly sure how the ruling all worked. There's like a bunch of like nuance to it here. It's very confusing, but under no circumstances should there have been exceptions for these politically exposed individuals in the Epstein files and photos. That's really peculiar, and that really seems extremely corrupt because they should all be going to jail. Like, take, for example, Bill fucking Clinton here. This guy's like the Ronald McDonald to Jeffrey Epstein's empire of child sex trafficking. This guy is in so many photos with so much evidence to support how deeply involved he was as a client. We now have even more photos of him, and still nothing has happened to Bill Clinton. The only person with more photographs with Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell is Trump. And speaking of Trump, he is doing everything in his power to ensure Maxwell has the easiest time imaginable. Maxwell, the only person, by the way, who has ever faced even an iota of punishment for all of the innumerable, unthinkable, heinous crimes with Jeffrey Epstein's empire of child sex trafficking, the only person who faced even the slightest punishment, he has now ensured went from a prison to a fucking summer camp where she gets to, like, pet training service dogs now, and she lives luxuriously there. It's pretty weird. I think it's very odd that these files are so heavily redacted. I think there's also a very good chance that the photos released were probably not the entire kit and caboodle. I would bet there were probably even more photos that we don't have access to and have probably been completely burned and buried somewhere that just don't exist anymore. That would be my guess. And if you're wondering about any new photos of Trump with Jeffrey Epstein or Maxwell, there's not really anything new there, but he does appear in a few of these photos they released, like this one where there is a framed photo of him with Jeffrey Epstein and Melania in between, as well as this right here where you can see two different pictures of Trump in the drawer. So overall, no like new photos of them together, but there is a framed one and a couple in that drawer, so he did like to keep photos of Trump around of the two when they hung out. And it's hard to say if there's any new evidence there because there isn't anything new in the files themselves since it's all fucking redacted. So the only thing like new here are some of these photographs, which also are redacted. And while I thought it was supposed to be reserved solely for victims, it seems as though there is the potential that it was also used to hide politically exposed individuals. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed or not, but there is now a lot of hoopla saying that this doesn't comply with what was actually sought, and they are looking to pursue further action because they redacted so much that they weren't allowed to. So I guess we'll see how it all shakes out, but holy shit, I still cannot believe what they released here in the state that it is. I can't believe they thought this would go over well with literally anybody to release hundreds of pages of pure redactions. That's unbelievable. But as far as the new photos go, I don't see how that's not actionable to at least try and investigate further. In particular, someone like Bill Clinton, who's here constantly. This guy's popping up like it's Where's Waldo, but he's really easy to spot. I don't understand how, if all this information has existed for this long, and even in this administration that was denying its existence, why don't they do anything about what they have? I feel like it should warrant, at the very least, some further poking around to see what the fuck was happening here. Like, it just makes no sense to me until you start to realize that all of these people in power, this administration, the previous administration too, who also didn't release anything of substance when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein case, still nobody's been punished. It's very clear when you realize that there are people on both sides of the political aisle here that are implicated, and should someone like Bill Clinton fall, there's a chance that many others do too that they don't want being exposed. I think that's probably why there's been so little action being taken. It's just so fucking sickening how blatant this corruption is just out in the open. And now with these documents they released, if you can even call them that, it's even more clear as day just how deep this rot goes. It's fucking absurd. Anyway, I had to yap about this a bit. That's it. See ya. A year ago now, a YouTuber named Megalag dropped a video that was the culmination of an extended investigation that spanned the course of a very long period of time about a company who has worked very closely in the YouTube ecosystem for years, Honey, who was once the YouTube darling sponsor absolutely everywhere, more common than the cold, and never really had like a bad reputation, but Megalag, through a very extensive investigation, found some shocking, shady things that not a lot of people knew about. And I don't want to just regurgitate everything from that video. I'm sure you probably have already seen it because it was such a huge deal. Even outside of just the YouTube space, it was a really big thing. Because this is a multi-billion-dollar company that was engaging in some really underhanded tactics that really tiptoe on the line for what is and is not legal, many would argue, which is why they've been faced with so many civil lawsuits since. Now, I know one of them was recently dismissed, but from what I can tell, it's not fully dismissed. It's pending an amendment, from what I can tell. But even still, even if that one gets crumpled up and thrown in the wastebasket from fucking way downtown, that's one of many. There's a lot still out there cooked up and being pushed against PayPal Honey. It's like the scene in SpongeBob when the anchovies charge the Krusty Krab. There is so many civil lawsuits here because a ton of people feel like they have been wronged, misled, and even in certain cases scammed by PayPal Honey. Megalag came from the top turnbuckle and delivered a biblical smackdown with a lot of really convincing evidence, and just released his part 2, the follow-up, which goes even deeper and exposes even more, and also starts talking about it from the small businesses that are being affected and a lot of things that are just being outright lied about by PayPal Honey, allegedly here. It's fascinating, and PayPal Honey has cease and desisted Megalag, claiming a bit of horseradish, I would say, trying to silence him because these are really damning things. The evidence is very, very strong. I highly recommend you check out the entire video from Megalag here. Of course, I'll link it in the description. I'm only going to cover a small portion of this because I really think you need to watch the entire thing. I think you need to see how the sausage is made here, but I will cover a couple of core components. But just as a little refresher, if you don't remember some of the things PayPal Honey is accused of, one of the big things outside of, like, obviously consumers not exactly getting what they thought they were out of Honey is the affiliate poaching. So creators that worked with Honey that would have their own special deals to promote to their audience, the audience would then use those codes on the website. But Honey had some protocol that would occasionally perhaps poach that sale and take the commission that was supposed to go to the creator, and they would take the lion's share. There were a lot of cases that Megalag was able to point to, and even in his follow-up video shows even stronger evidence for, of how this actually functions, where it seems to be a core component of Honey itself, where it will overwrite your cookie, it will inject itself, and it is looking to make that commission in a lot of cases. It's very scummy shit. And I know after the first video he dropped, a lot of people's response was, who gives a fuck? The creators can suck my dick, and my heart doesn't break for these businesses. They can go eat dirt. Okay, that's your prerogative. I'm not your fucking dad. I'm not going to come in there with the belt and make you change your mind or whatever. That's fine. But in this second part of the video, you can hear from a business how that actually fucks you as a consumer.
A few hours ago, PayPal's lawyer sent me a cease and desist letter and requested Patreon take down my video under a copyright infringement claim. I consider this a direct attack against my fundamental rights as an independent journalist. PayPal has specifically taken issue with the fact that an anonymous source discovered Honey had left their source code exposed within their iOS app, which, if you know where to look, is publicly accessible. This anonymous source found the code and sent it to me. I reviewed the code for security research purposes, which is a protected act, and I only published relevant sections of the code that provide important context to the story, which I consider within the realm of public interest.
I haven't seen the unredacted video here where the source code was, like, more talked about, where he had these video components that showed, I suppose, sections of that when it was relevant. But it seems like it was more so a convenient excuse for PayPal to get the video taken down from his Patreon, and in order to get around that for the YouTube video, he just took the entire section out. Again, I haven't seen with my own peepers here what it looked like in all its glory with the full makeup on, where, you know, the source code section was intact. But just based off of, like, the small bit, apparently it wasn't even that long, it feels like it's a pretty flimsy thing for PayPal to try and, like, strike it down for. I imagine it's more so to, like, hide even further proof for some of the things that you're about to learn about in the rest of the video. I never like when companies do something like this. Of course, there is like copyright protections, and in certain cases it makes sense to do so. I can't really see a strong justification for their action here on the cease and desist. It doesn't really pass the smell test for me here, especially considering it seems like he was very reserved with what was displayed from the source code based on how he speaks about it. But again, I can't say for 100% certain. I just find it hard to believe that PayPal Honey was acting in good faith with the cease and desist. That seems like they're trying to hush him up a bit.
Why? Well, you see, besides lying to consumers and stealing from influencers, Honey was also causing serious harm to small businesses. So much so that I believe brands have likely suffered millions of dollars in damages. But that's not all. In this video, you're also going to learn how Honey was collecting and sharing your data, and how they, in my opinion, illegally targeted minors through influencers such as Mr. Beast. Strong accusations, I know, but I have the receipts.
And the receipts are pretty convincing. So those are like the main components of this new video. This is an hour-long video almost. It goes deep here. This shit is deeper than my pussy. It is a very thorough look at all of it. And I know after the first video, people had a lot of questions, and I feel like here he sheds even more light on it through an even deeper analysis of Honey itself and the way in which it functions. It's not just him working alone. He had people help him with like getting a lot of the data so it can be viewed more easily and more accessible. So that way he doesn't have to make any like leaping conclusions or anything. He doesn't have to just like start trying to fill in the blanks off of, just fucking hunch, like intuition. He's able to look at these things much closer in order to draw much stronger analysis from it. It really is quite the deep dive, and like I said, I don't want to like show just a ton of his video. I would really like you to go watch it yourself, because I think it is eye-opening stuff. I want to focus on just a couple of things here that I know a lot of people debated after the first video about like, well, why should anyone that's not a creator or a fucking business owner care? Who gives a shit? Call the wambulance. I think that one of the business owners that Megalag had in this video giving his piece explains why this is a big deal, why it is bad for not only the small businesses that are not consenting to working with Honey, that are kind of just being forced to without even their knowledge sometimes, why it is bad for them with receipts in email exchange with PayPal Honey directly, why it has been a nightmare for them, and why it is also bad for you. You also get the business end of this penis. Even if you're not a Honey user, if you're watching this be like, well, I don't care, I don't use Honey anyway, well, it still affects you. And it's a very simple reason how and why.
In fact, Made in Cookware CEO Chip perfectly summed up the devastating impact Honey's actions can have on a small business.
When you're in the early stages of building a business, you're in the stage of, will this company even work? Is there product market fit? How do I scale this thing? Can the economics work, right? And so all the things we talked about, these discount codes and the kind of removal of attribution and killing margin, like those really affect the early stages of a company, from everything from where do I put the next dollar in to make sure I can survive, down to you're taking 10, 15, 20% of my sales without me wanting it. And we have digital marketing costs, we have shipping costs, we have all these stacks of costs that not only are getting more inflated over time, like FedEx has been raising their rates over time, warehousing costs have gone up, COGS have gone up, as you know, through inflation for the last 4 or 5 years, right? Like all the cost structures have been going up, and to have someone just stealing and compressing the actual revenue you want, like puts small businesses in a real squeeze. It's just really disappointing, and it doesn't even work, because at the end of the day, like you need to make the numbers work. And if Honey is going to steal 10% of your revenue all the time, you're going to have to raise prices at the end of the day to make up for that, right? And so it's not only not effective, but it makes it worse for the consumer. It compresses for the small business owner any margin. And it's just like a really awful business model. Like we've been so mad at them.
That is a great explanation from him. I think that's very valuable insight that paints the whole picture clearly. Even if you're in a fucking Xanax-induced fugue state right now listening to this, I feel like you'd hear that and understand what makes this so bad for everybody. Businesses, consumers, and obviously like the affiliate partners like the creators. One other thing that was mentioned, but I didn't put it here in this space, is how brands like when they find out about Honey poaching the affiliate commissions, it makes it hard for them to know where to attribute commissions. So what'll happen is this confusion where they don't know where a commission goes. So like, let's say they're working with a podcaster or a YouTuber or something, and things get really muddy. It makes it hard for them to know where they're supposed to put that money in the first place. So what ends up happening is they end up pulling out of that market entirely. So now they're not working with your favorite content creator anymore. So they're getting shafted. And they also potentially overspend on the compensation because of how confusing it gets. There was another example given how like a business had spent over $100,000 on like potentially like misattributed commissions from the affiliate marketing as a result of this kind of shit. Like it gets to be a lot. So then they pull out of that market as well. But what's obviously the thing a lot of people are going to care the most about is how it makes the deals worse for you, because as he said, if PayPal Honey is going to be taking 10% of all of their revenue through this, which they can't really do a whole lot about, their hands being tied, well, they're going to have to make up for that loss somehow. And that is raising prices. That's how you make the numbers work again. If you're going to be losing 10%, you're going to have to raise the prices in order to compensate, so that way you're not going like negative or you're not starting to like tread water, which is what a lot of businesses inevitably have to do. And something like PayPal Honey putting the squeeze on them makes it worse. So that is a huge problem, and that is how it affects you, even if you are not a Honey user yourself. It is a bad deal for everybody involved here, except Honey. But what's a good deal for everybody is the Starforge Christmas sale. It's live now. Click the link in the description if you're looking to upgrade your PC. Best PCs in the universe.
Chip was kind enough to share his email exchanges with Honey from 2020. And you need to see it because holy shit. Hi, I am the CEO of Meeting Cookware. Please remove us from your app. You've scraped a private friends and family code from our checkout and put it on the platform for others to use. We've lost a bunch of revenue. 4 days later, Honey responds with, "Hi Chip, thanks for reaching out. Honey supports over 40,000 stores online, and we always prioritize protecting the Honey experience for users by supporting available stores and displaying available codes. We can absolutely remove the code in question. In order to protect the Honey experience for our users, we typically do not remove codes unless we have a working relationship." I mean, right off the bat, they're basically saying, we won't compromise the experience for our users unless you pay us. Classy. We'd love to discuss how we can work more closely and partner with your brand. Chip replies the same day, "We don't offer affiliate deals to coupon sites. We'd like to be removed from your site and extension completely."
The email showcased just how difficult it is to just be removed from Honey. He is putting in plain English, hey, we're losing revenue because of you guys. Please just take us off of this shit. I'm begging. It's like a fucking telemarketer that's refusing to take you off the call sheet. It's brutal. He reaches out to them because Honey had scraped a private code, which is something that earlier in the video, Megalag shows very strong evidence as like a thing that happens, not super unusual with Honey, which is a code that they didn't want to be public. It shouldn't have been public. A lot of businesses have these kind of private codes for like employees or friends and families, or in some cases, as was mentioned earlier in this video, like veterans or something. And Honey will sometimes get these codes and make them public so people can use them, which really fucks the businesses because those weren't supposed to be public. They were supposed to be for a specific person or a specific purpose. So the CEO we just heard from, this is his exchange with them, reaching out like, hey, this happened to us. We're losing revenue. Get rid of this and please take us off of Honey entirely. We don't want to work with you. And whatever zombie he's talking to over there at Honey is just not letting that shit fly. They're playing hardball, trying their best to keep them shackled to Honey, even though they didn't want Honey to be there in the first place. They were uninvited to this hootenanny, yet now they don't have a choice.
His leak code was added through Honey's user-generated coupon functionality. No surprises there. She completely ignores his request to be removed from the platform, only offering to remove the leaked employee discount. Chip replies the same day, "Our friends and family code was listed on your site. That was an internal code meant for a small group of people that was never published anywhere. Our whole site can't be removed from your app." Honey only responds a week later, confirming they removed the employee discount, but again, completely ignores Chip's request to be removed from Honey. Chip responds immediately, pushing for an answer, but they ignore his email completely. A month later, and Honey leaks another private discount code. "Hi, please remove from your app. That is a private code behind a private employee perk login. This should never be public. I don't understand how you feel taking a private employee perk and making that public to the world is helping our business. Honey responds confirming they removed the code, but instead of taking responsibility, they try shifting the blame onto Chip, suggesting his employees might be responsible for sharing the code with Honey. But given what we know about their system, I'm willing to bet Honey were responsible for the leak, not Chip's employees. Honey then suggests that Chip creates single-use codes for each and every employee.
Wonderful. Thanks for the unsolicited advice there on how he should run his business with his employees here, knowing full well that Honey does, in cases, take that kind of shit, even if it wasn't the fault of the employee. Allegedly. Like, it's fucking sickening. It's so disgusting, like, the pompous attitude that comes through on these emails from Honey. This is a business that did not want to be with Honey in the first place, and there was another business that was interviewed in this video about, like, how he'd never even heard of Honey, but apparently people were getting tons of discounts on his site because of Honey, and he had never even fucking heard of the service before. So Honey, and you're about to hear from Megalag in the video here, Honey seems to just be subjecting these businesses, these small businesses, to their wrath, where they're just giving out, in certain cases, private coupon codes to users, which obviously damages the small business and causes them to lose revenue and causes a huge headache there. And then the only way to get off of it is by partnering with Honey, and basically, once you are partnered with Honey, then you tell them to exclude that kind of stuff, which is something that piggybacks off of a bit of what Megalag talked about in the first video, where, you know, partnered brands, they have like these certain exclusions and stuff. It's a really like awful business model that is bad for literally everyone but Honey. And it's kind of mind-boggling how the only way to get out of it in a small business's position like this is to partner with Honey and say, stop fucking us. No more of these coupons. So they get you. They get you because they fuck you raw a bit, and they slap you around, and then when you go to them for like assistance, they're like, can't really do anything about that unless you were partnered with Honey. You ever thought about that? If you work with us, maybe fork over a couple doubloons, a little bit of those clams, well, maybe then we can work a little something out about these pesky little coupons our millions of users keep finding.
2 months later, and another private code gets leaked. And once again, Chip asks to be completely removed from the platform. And this time, Honey finally addresses the question. We proudly host a consistent shopping experience for all Honey shoppers who rely on our shopping tools. Therefore, we cannot disable Honey for individual stores, and never have. Never have, huh? Well, that's interesting, because it just so happens that Andrew from TrueGrit Texture Supply also shared his email exchange with Honey. And would you believe it? He was dealing with the exact same Honey employee as Chip. And while Honey attempted the same sales pitch with Andrew, they did eventually remove his store from the platform. So yes, it is possible, and yes, they have done it before. Once again, we've caught Honey in yet another calculated and deliberate lie. And make no mistake, it was deliberate because this employee, Kelly, confirmed the removal of Andrew's store just 1 month before assuring Chip that Honey had never removed a store before.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to argue that there. It's the same person, and also they removed that previous business a month prior to this exchange with my cookware. So, it's pretty obvious that she's telling some tall tales here. This is a big old fib. They can remove them from Honey, but it seems like they'd rather not, because they'd rather you partner with them so that way they can get a little more out of it, and then you can finally stop bleeding money through these private coupons that surprisingly just keep getting leaked through Honey. It's so fucked up. Like, it really is like a crazy rabbit hole here.
When merchants discover their codes have leaked and then they want to clamp down on that, they go to these coupon extensions and plea and request to have their codes removed. And 9 times out of 10, the response is join our affiliate program and you'll have more granular control over that. And so I think merchants tend to feel a little bit as though they're being blackmailed or extorted, because you join the affiliate program and then you have to pay that coupon extension company every time somebody uses a code. And you're doing that in order to have them not share your codes.
That beautifully explains just how scummy this model is, where it does appear that these small businesses feel forced to join these programs here with companies like PayPal Honey, because if they don't, well, they might keep having these problems. But by joining that company, they're not exactly all that much better off, because now they're going to have to make those affiliate payments there. So like, it is just a lose-lose for the businesses. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that section here. Again, I think you should watch the whole video. I do want to touch on where he gets into like the Mr. Beast component, which is in the thumbnail, and something that was mentioned at the start of the video about like how he believes that Honey has been strategically targeting minors in certain instances based on who they've partnered with, like Mr. Beast, as well as a couple other examples he gives, and why that might not exactly be completely legal, allegedly, because there is laws about collecting data on minors. And through his investigation, with very, very strong evidence, including some of PayPal Honey's own information that they themselves have talked about, they do collect your data. They do seemingly share your data. Now in the video, there's even a brief clip where someone is talking about the benefits of Honey's data collection. So even though they explicitly advertise they don't do any of that weirdo shit like collecting and sharing your data or anything like that, the truth of it is that they do collect your data. And to their merchants, they even do brag about how much data they have, and they do share that data. Megalag had a lot of very compelling evidence to prove that fact. I feel like it's pretty obvious, given everything that is accessible, that they do indeed collect that. I'll go ahead and show you that brief clip there, and then we'll get into like how the marketing to minors may be a big issue for Honey.
For their partnered merchants. Discussing the benefits of Honey's data for their partnered merchants.
You know, one of the metrics that we assess very frequently for merchants that work with Honey is, cross-store shopping. So, how many other stores is a user visiting as well as the store in question? Are they going to 6 stores? Are they going to 7 stores? Are they going to 10 stores before they make a decision on where to purchase?
And here's another former senior partnerships manager.
So like one of the things we have insight into at Honey, because we're a browser extension and we can see our shoppers and how they shop, is that shoppers love to cross-site comparison shop. We're really kind of following the shopper where they go, and we're with them every step of the way. We have all sorts of tools to make those consumers stickier to those direct-to-consumer brands.
And here's a former PayPal executive discussing how beneficial the data is for their goals.
We've got a full suite of solutions across our consumer platforms that help drive new customers, that help drive loyalty, that help drive conversion, and ultimately sales lift. And we have a lot of analytics and a lot of data, a lot of shopper data, obviously, and that's something that we can unlock on behalf of our partners.
You've got to hand it to Honey. They've truly mastered the art of selling bullshit narratives. To users, they promise privacy, insisting, hey, we never sell or share your data. But to their merchants, they literally bragged about how much of your data they had and how it could be leveraged to provide them with valuable insights into your shopping habits.
I think we can say with a pretty high level of confidence that PayPal Honey does seemingly collect your data and is more than willing to share it. So that whole claim they like to make, and even it was part of some of their marketing about, we don't collect your data and we certainly don't share that data or sell it or anything like that. Looking like that might have been a big load of hooey. Now, as it relates to being potentially a huge issue when it comes to like who they were targeting with some of their advertising, is what I briefly mentioned earlier, where there are laws in place about collecting data on minors. There is a whole host of laws in regards to that subject, and you're about to hear Megalag explain it, but the core issue is, based on some of their ads they were running with some of their partners, as well as who they were partnering with for some of these ads, it does seem like they were directly trying to target Honey to minors, which means they would be collecting data on minors through having this browser extension on their devices.
It's potentially illegal in numerous jurisdictions. Many countries have very strict regulations when it comes to the collection of personal data from minors, and for good reason. Therefore, if you intend on having minors use your product, many jurisdictions require that you obtain parental consent first. But this adds all kinds of technical and legal complexities, which is why many platforms simply limit the use of their service this to adults only in their privacy policy, which was Honey's approach, making him Honey's #1 sponsor. In fact, according to my data, MrBeast sponsorships represent over 1/3 of Honey's total sponsor views on YouTube. But it wasn't just MrBeast. Honey sponsored many channels whose content was, in my opinion, clearly targeted at minors. They sponsored Minecraft channels, Roblox channels, cartoon channels. I mean, just watch this video and tell me it's not targeted at children.
This video is sponsored by Honey.
I trimmed it down a bit. He goes on to say, like, if they weren't looking to get minors to install Honey, why would they sponsor someone like MrBeast or these other channels that he gives a quick snippet of, like Roblox, Minecraft, and then that skit? And he's right. The main demographic of MrBeast, it is children. I'm pretty sure that's like an objectively true statement based on data. And Roblox is predominantly a platform used by children. And that cat skit definitely seems like some Nick Jr. stuff there for children. Like, it does appear like they did have marketing pushes that were trying to get Honey in front of the eyes of minors and trying to get them to install it on their browser.
If Honey wanted to target minors so badly, they should have just sponsored one. Oh, wait a minute, that's exactly what they did. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Desiree Machado, who at the time was just 14 years old.
Guys, I'm only 14.
Hilariously, one of her videos that Honey sponsored is appropriately titled Back to School. Honey even ran her sponsored segment as a paid advert on YouTube.
If you weren't convinced before, I imagine that was enough to convince you. That's pretty damning. They literally sponsored a child to promote Honey, and even used her sponsored segment as a paid advertisement across YouTube. I think there is a very strong argument with strong evidence to suggest Honey was looking to get Honey on the devices of children, and knowing what we know now based on this evidence, it was collecting their data, which is a big legal issue potentially.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to every computer in your house, your mom's, your dad's, your sister, your brother's computer, and install Honey.
They are literally encouraging kids to install a browser extension that tracks and collects data onto every computer in their household, including those belonging to their siblings. That is fucking insane. And the emojis? I mean, come on!
That is a bad look for MrBeast indeed. Oof. It does seem pretty clear that Honey was more than willing to advertise to minors, and this is a browser extension that, based on all available evidence, does indeed track data and share data, which, again, appears to be a lot of laws in place that have very strict rules about that when it comes to the data collection of minors. So I guess we'll see what happens from there. Again, this is still not even all of what Megalag covered. I've only chosen a few things to talk about here that kind of piggybacked off of the things I was talking about from the first video. I just cannot, I've said like again 1,000 times now, but I cannot recommend watching this full video enough because it is a really surprisingly deep dive into a very, very suspicious and shady business that appears to have a lot going on under the hood here that is not very good. And the business model itself is bad for everybody, not just creators, not just businesses, and not just Honey users, but any online shoppers in general. They have a negative effect on. It's a bad deal across the board based on everything that has been presented here. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about it for now. That's really about it. See ya. It's that special time of year again. We're looking at what are the worst 5 games of 2025. Now, this was a pretty stacked year for gaming. I've said that quite a bit. There were some bangers in here, some slappers, but for every hit, there is a shit. And there were plenty of shits this year. However, I think as far as worst game of the year goes, this one was pretty easy for me to choose. But anyway, I think the other 4 might be kind of surprising and worth mentioning. I even did some real-time analysis on stream seeing if there were any other terrible games I might have missed, and I played them on stream. I won't show you the footage of me playing through them before the finalized list, but if you want to watch the full playthroughs of those, of course, they're on my gaming channel, Moist Critical Gaming. So yeah, anyway, get your popcorn out. It's Worst Games of 2025 coming at you raw. Brought to you by Cheeky, powered by Cheeky Soap. The only thing worse than bad games is bad hygiene, so go ahead and fix that with the best soap in the universe. Go to usecheeky.com. Also, our Chainsaw Man soap, our collector's boxes for the Chainsaw Man movie are about to be restocked the next day or two. I'm not sure when this video is going to go up. They might be restocked by the time this is live. I already know what the worst game of the year is, but I'd have to really think on what second, third, fourth, and fifth place would be. I played so many games this year. Unlike last year where I missed out on a lot, this year I played like the entire kit and caboodle of like everything that came out. If your old 4th grade English professor found Unity assets and put something on Steam for $50, I probably played it at some point. I played everything. And yet this year was so stacked, I still missed some bangers that I need to go back and play. But this year, I've got a firm handle on like every game that came out. You skipped every Nintendo game. Yeah, well, aside from Nintendo games, I literally played 0. They can hold my Johnson. So I already know what the worst is. Now we need to find what's almost as bad. I don't want to cheap out on it and do like the really small, terrible indie games that I've played. I don't think that's super fun. I feel like that's a little too easy. And there's nothing that I played that was so incredibly shitty in that area that I would put it there. So I really gotta think. I gotta rack my brain. I want to give an honorable mention to something that, by all definitions, is not a good game, but it's probably one of the most unique experiences I've ever had gaming. It is I can't even remember the name of it. It was called like Learn to Fight, Fight with Me, Time for Fight and Fighting or something. Hold on, I have a video of it on the gaming channel and I can't remember the name right now. But I want to start with an honorable mention here. Honorable mention to this game right here. This is such a fun one. Hack and Slash Fury. That's what it is. Hack and Slash Fury. Time to blow me away. This is very... Just look at this.
All impressive. The Dark Warriors. To beat it. Much years ago. With an earthquake. Yeah, it was very much time ago.
It was indeed very much time ago. Hack and Slash Fury, legitimately I had a wonderful time playing, but you could make an argument that it's not an incredible game. I want to give it an honorable mention here, but also a recommendation, because that shit was special. Okay, and now to the core 5. So far, nothing super terrible jumping out at me here. I really, really didn't like Assassin's Creed Shadows at all, but I'm just not a huge Assassin's Creed fan. So I don't think it's necessarily like an objectively shitty game. It's just a game and a franchise that I am so beyond bored with. I'll keep it up there as a just in case, because it is my top 5 list. I'm not scientifically looking at the worst games of the year. It's the ones I had the least amount of fun with, and that would definitely be in there. No, yeah, it was coming up in June. FBC Firebreak is definitely going to be on the top 5 worst of the year, though. That's for sure. Oh, wow. June is where the worst game of the year came out, too. Big month for shitters. Holy. I'll get more into Mind's Eye later, but I think everyone knows this is the worst game of the year. And it's not even a close competition. This is, not only is the game disastrously horrible, but everything that happened afterwards is just a remarkable clown show. With Leslie making a fool of himself constantly, saying that the only reason it's getting negative reviews is because of sabotage and like jealousy or whatever. Well, we'll get more into that one in a minute. FBC Firebreak is definitely in the top 5 worst of the year, no doubt. Didn't play Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. Finally sat out one of those games. Much to the chagrin of chat. I don't know how many times I had to reiterate I'm not playing that. I just do not like the franchise. I might put this in my top 5 worst games just because of how miserable chat was for me not playing this. Hunter x Hunter Nin Impact. I was going to play, but everyone said it was really bad, so I didn't play, and then it looked like there was a lot of very fun, crazy tech in it, and then I was tempted to play it again, then never did. Killing Floor 3, similar story. Was pumped to play Killing Floor 3, everyone said it blew ass, and then I just didn't play it. Maybe I should have, just for the sake of the top 5 worst games of the year. Oh, this is definitely in the top 5 worst of the year. The House of the Dead 2 remake. Holy shit, did they butcher that. That was a disaster. We're almost to the end of the year. And I actually only have 4 games that I genuinely really didn't like. At least from, like, the big releases. Little Nightmares 3 was pretty disappointing just because of how short it was, but that definitely isn't enough to put it in the top 5 worst by any means. But it was pretty underwhelming. It wasn't made by the original Little Nightmares team, which explains it, but still. Kind of a shame. Skipped King of Meat. Did I? That's what I was looking for. Was King of Meat in here? Oh, you're right. It just doesn't even have its own Wikipedia. Imagine paying unfathomable amounts of money, no doubt 7 figures, for like a Mr. Beast dedicated video and all of like the streamer influencer marketing, and not even being big enough to have a Wikipedia page for your game. That's crazy. Wow. Definitely King of Meat, though, in the top 5 worst of the year. Not even objectively one of the worst games of the year, but very similar to like a Concord level failure where tons of money was clearly poured into this project only for it to be a complete colossal flop. So that definitely has to make it just for that reason. Oh, now I gotta go all the way back. Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Didn't play it. First Call of Duty I skipped in a long time because this shit just looked like ass. Oh, Let It Die. The new Let It Die game. That would probably... Man, maybe I should play some of these, like, absolutely terrible games just for the sake of this top 5. Because I know the new Let It Die game would definitely be on there. It's a pay-to-win disaster. We went over it on stream not long ago. I know if I played Let It Die or Killing Floor 3, they'd probably squeak out a spot on this. I think I should play both of these because I have no doubt they will both probably make it. Because if I don't, then my top 5 would include Assassin's Creed Shadow, which even though I personally didn't like it at all, I know that it's not an objectively worst game of the year for top 5. Let It Die Inferno is $25 and still filled to the brim with microtransactions? No way, right? I thought it was free. According to Metacritic, you only played 1 out of their 10 worst games, which was Mind's Eye. What were the other ones? That's crazy, I missed all of the big stinkers this year. Usually that's all I play. That's surprising. Second place was Blood of Marin. Or third place was Blood of Marin. Second place was Fire Emblem Mobile. The hell is Blood of Marin? Oh, this looks like my kind of bad game. Wait a minute. We might need to pivot here in a second.
Stand up. Now, I demand. It's my sworn code to end your life with a sword.
Oh man, that's music to my ears. Yeah, we gotta do that. How long do you think it'll take to beat? I'm definitely not beating Blood of Marin. I'll tell you that much. I'll probably put like an hour into this puppy and it'll probably be enough to let me know if it's a top 5 worst game of the year. I then played through Blood of Marin and then Let It Die Inferno just to give them a fair shake and see if they were going to be a worse experience than Assassin's Creed Shadow. I'm not going to show you those playthroughs here. If you want to see the full playthroughs they're on my gaming channel, Moist Critical Gaming. That was fun. Does it make the top 5 list? I'll be honest, I don't think so. I had more fun playing that than I did Assassin's Creed Shadows. Granted, I think this is obviously a much worse game. But it's my fucking top 5, and I enjoyed this more than Assassin's Creed Shadows. The new updates to Killing Floor 3 are quite good. Is it not as shitty as it was a couple months ago? I don't know if anything will beat Shadows. You were so miserable playing that. Yeah, I just can't in good conscience put it in the top 5 worst of the year, because it's not. I just fucking hate Assassin's Creed. I hate that series so much. Alright, Let It Die Inferno. I actually played this when it came out originally, the first Let It Die, and it was enjoyable. Apparently Inferno does everything wrong. So I guess we'll see how they massacred my boy. Okay, so what is a room match, I wonder? Room creation is unavailable in the standard edition. Please upgrade to the deluxe edition or higher. What? Okay, that probably just landed it on my top 5 worst games of the year. That is egregious. Are you serious? What? I just paid $25 for this and I can't even use an actual, like, standard feature of hosting a room? No way. Is the deluxe edition a free upgrade? No way, right? There's no way they would paywall that. I didn't even notice there was a deluxe edition. Let's see. Deluxe edition is $45. So I paid $25, and I need to pay $45 in order to do a room. That's crazy. There's also one more edition, the Ultimate Edition. That's $60. Is there also another game mechanic that's paywalled there? That's nuts. Am I misunderstanding something? Because this feels like absurd. And I could see like this game being fun, like getting into it, but this is absurd. Like that is crazy. Like I heard the microtransactions were bad. We went down that rabbit hole. We already knew, but I didn't see anyone mention this. To me, this is just beyond greedy. Okay, so now I can comfortably finish the top 5 worst games of the year. Assassin's Creed Shadow does not make the cut. At number 5, it'll be House of the Dead 2 Remake. This is probably one of the worst remakes you'll ever find for anything. When I played through this on the gaming channel on a whim, I didn't know it was so bad. They completely ruined House of the Dead 2. So that comfortably gets number 5. At number 4, Let It Die Inferno. Like, after having just played it for, what, hour and a half or something, which isn't a lot. It's barely enough for, like 2 or 3 Hellgate runs. It's slower than the first, but the reason it's here should be pretty obvious. It literally paywalls you from basic content. So I bought the $25 game, which I already knew was littered with microtransactions, but when I tried to create a room, which is what I believe to be a pretty basic feature, and it's right there at your fucking fingertips, when you try and create it, it says you can't do that unless you upgrade to Deluxe Edition, which is $45. That is unfathomable amounts of greed that I just truly cannot believe exists. So that is why it is easily in the number 4 slot. Even though there are some things to like about the game, that is unacceptable. Number 3, FBC Firebreak. What a stinker. This game was a miserable 4.5 hour experience. Like, it was fine in the beginning. It's just like a very simple game. But within the first 30 minutes, you have seen and experienced everything this game has to offer. So FBC Firebreak is pretty easily there as well. Also, one of the first games that I played for the gaming channel, by the way, when I launched that. Number 2, King of Meat. King of Meat should be obvious. Even though I think like there is some fun to be had with the game if you and your buddies, want to do something for a little bit as like a adventure together, you could maybe squeeze like half an hour of fun out of it. Maybe. But it's also a $30 game for what feels like a free-to-play mobile experience. And it is also a colossal flop on the level that the likes of which we haven't seen to this level since like Concord. Millions of dollars went into this, as well as marketing for this with Mr. Beast, influencers and all kinds of shit and ads out the wazoo, even like Discord orbs, and nobody played it. Peak player count of 320. Like, it's just a disaster across the board. And then number one, a surprise to nobody, it's Mind's Eye. This game, there's not a single redeeming quality to this game. Everything that could go wrong with a game went wrong with this game, and Leslie, being as delusional as he is, made it even worse, put the actual bow on top of this shit package by just being a complete asshole about everyone who was criticizing it. The game just super sucks. And it was broken. And it was broken. Again, everything that could go wrong with a game went wrong with Mind's Eye. Hot take, Mind's Eye better than FBC Firebreak. That is a hot take, I disagree. As an FBC Firebreak hater, I can tell you confidently you're wrong. This game, you didn't play it then. I played this shit start to finish, and my god does it blow ass. He actually beat Mind's Eye with a warrior. Hey, I'm no hero. I did it for the gaming channel, baby. Mind's Eye 2 will redeem it. Hey, I actually wouldn't put it past Leslie to try and make a Mind's Eye 2. I genuinely think there is a non-zero chance he actually tries a Mind's Eye 2. They had the gall to put out DLC for Mind's Eye only like a month ago, by the way. For all zero Mind's Eye enthusiasts. The protagonist VA did an okay job, though. I feel bad for whoever plays the main character here. I said it during the game, too. Like, that guy is trying, and I know he also got shafted with Mafia 3 as well. He's a talented performer. But whoever his agent is, he needs to dump ASAP, because they are choosing some shit for him. Don't you want to know what happens to Jacob Diaz? Was that the name of the main character in Mind's Eye? I couldn't even tell you. Oh yeah, Jacob Diaz. I don't even... The only thing I remember about it is when the fucking aliens come into the fold. I actually lost my mind when they brought in, like, the interdimensional being aspect of the story. If you could only see the world through my eyes, you'd be looking most people in their chest. But I'm gonna show you a little something that these eyes have seen today. It's a pretty chaotic video with a woman and a man she was with. Could be husband, could be Tinder date, who really knows? Could be a complete stranger who was trying to impress her. No telling. But they were at an event, and she hit the sauce a little bit too hard, had a little overdose on the fun potion, a little bit of glug 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 glug, Reggie, and started throwing hands with the staff, and it does not end well with her. This story is not a happily ever after for her life.
He's just fucking harassed. Yeah, he's on a distraction.
Please leave.
Tell me one more time. He touched me.
I did not touch you.
Oh, he's a liar.
So the background here is she's a little too drunk and she's starting to hallucinate. She is now accusing someone of harassing her, which apparently did not happen. The guy's even saying that didn't happen. She's got her phone out to record her POV, so you already know she's fucking delusional. It is crazy, astonishing, just how often people that are making complete fools of themselves, just absolute clowns, will be the ones to take out their phone and start recording it as if they're in the right, thinking people will be on their side. So she's got her own POV, well, it's not even really her POV because she's holding it like up here. It's probably looking like straight at the ground, but she's just off her gourd right now. According to a bartender that was at the center of this fucking pandemonium, couple came in at around 9 p.m. and immediately there were concerns raised about how intoxicated they were. The night was quite chaotic. The couple came in, they were requesting dinner service. Initially, the server verbalized to me that she could tell that her table was not only intoxicated, but perhaps on some other substances, and they were giving her quite a rough time and being quite verbally abrasive with her. Then I do believe after that, the server asked for the manager to intervene. So the manager got summoned to the battlefield here. He enters the rift, runs it down mid, basically just saying, get the fuck out of here, takes their cocktails away, asks them to leave. And when he brought the cocktails back to staff, he said they had enough to drink, we shouldn't serve them anymore. And that's what led to this intense spiral you're about to see from that couple.
Hey,
She tries to slap the phone out of someone that was filming her, which is odd because she wasn't exactly shy about filming this herself, but I guess she doesn't like the angle that that stranger was catching her at. I don't really know what the thought process was there. Obviously not a whole lot of thoughts going on in there in the first place. Right now it's just her seeing red and on a rampage. Right now she is just like in Kratos Spartan mode, but she's super drunk, so she's throwing wet noodles instead of knuckle sandwiches. And she gets physical with one of the staff back there, and the boyfriend's trying to like separate her from them. And as he is doing that, she then aggroes somebody else there trying to attack them, and they were not playing games. This was not Weenie Hut Jr. anymore, so she actually got hip tossed. You can see the staff pick her up, well, not fully pick her up, but take her and throw her down straight to the floor, and you hear a big thud. She just got potato sacked. It was almost like a perfect little hip toss there, and she was too drunk to really feel the impact, but I know that shit hurt the next morning. She probably felt like she got hit by 5 different fucking freight trains.
Get out the way. Get out the way. Let's go.
No pooping.
Now the goober she's with is trying to get involved, so he's starting to get physical with the staff. You can see him kind of like loosely shoving them a little bit, kind of bumping and grinding on them more than anything. And eventually they both get dragged out of the establishment. The guy was getting absolutely manhandled. He tried to get physical and then ended up just getting like fucking little broed here to headlock. And then she gets taken out in like a pseudo full Nelson, and people are cheering for them getting thrown out. That's how you know you are in the wrong. That's how you know you are a giant asshole, when people are applauding your exit. So they get forced out of the establishment here, but that's not where this is curtains. It doesn't wrap up there. It only escalates because these two are now even more upset and even more combative.
Let go! Let go! Let go! Let go! Let go! No, let go right now, please. Let go. Yes, please let go. Please let go.
I'm not touching your boy.
Okay, stop.
No, keep on this.
Stop. No.
Hey.
You're in that bitch.
There's a lot to unpack here. There's quite a bit to digest. So they have now been forcibly removed from the premises because they were obviously disruptive, violent, aggressive, combative. They're now outside, and she grabs a fistful of hair, refusing to let go. She has got it firmly grasped here like SpongeBob. And as she does that, her boyfriend, or whatever goofball she's with there, whatever his relationship is to her, he is now gripping onto her like this, yanking her back as he is getting pulled back by somebody else. So it's almost like that stereotypical scene in a movie where like someone falls and like 5 people grab each other's arms trying to catch them. It is that, except people desperately trying to get these 2 fucking colossal losers to get out of there. And unfortunately, it's still just not enough. She is a force of nature fueled by pure alcohol in her veins. She's still going Insano style, and this time she's breaking free. She's going off the fucking leash here. It's sicko mode now. Because the employee whose hair was being grabbed her phone, saying, she wraps my hair around her hand and just pulls on it for dear life. It was quite painful, and that she only let go when he took her phone out of her hands and threw the phone to distract her to get her away from the restaurant. Like throwing a bone at a dog that's attacking you. So that's exactly what happens. He threw the phone, and immediately she's like going right after it, so charging back towards them. And so she got tripped, and my God, it's like all the momentum stopped. Not like she was, really breaking any land speed records for her 40-yard dash or anything. She was kind of drunkenly waddling over there, but when she was running and got tripped, it was textbook form, and then she just drops like an anvil. like a piano being dropped in a cartoon. She just hits the ground so hard instantly and starts calling the wambulance. She starts immediately crying in a Peter Griffin death pose.
Guys. No, Stop.
So now that she's been kind of decommissioned here, too many boo-boos for her to continue, she now starts insulting the guy she's with, saying, be a fucking man, trying to goad him into getting his ass kicked as well for a biblical smackdown that would have been placed upon his soul. She's just like, be a fucking man, do something. And you can just kind of see the gears turning in his noodle. You can kind of almost hear his heart breaking, like, oh no, if I don't do something, she's gonna break up with me. But if I do something, I'm going to be broken in half. What a conundrum, no! And then he eventually just decides, fuck it, we'll do it live. So he shoves the guy in the Santa hat, who is much larger than he is. It's a mismatch. He has to know that right there. That's David versus Goliath. But David's a big fucking douchebag here. He has no chance. But he goes for it. Smoke him if you got him, you know? So, no fucking ZD now? So he pushes the guy in the Santa hat. And I swear to God, there might be a longer cut of this, but I bet that guy in the Santa hat could have picked him up like Bane to Batman and broken him over his knee. He had no chance there. But that girl, she was whispering the siren song in his ear, and by whispering I mean shouting drunkenly, fucking trying her best to make sure he is also bruised, bloodied, and broken. Now that's where the video ends, but the story just keeps on going. This is the holiday gift that keeps on giving here for everyone that's not her and that guy she was with. So apparently after the dust settled and everything, the San Francisco Police Department took her in. This was a very popular clip, so much so that her employer caught wind of this. Her name is Shireen Afkari, and she worked for a popular fitness tracking app named Strava, where she was a senior manager of growth marketing and retention, and has now been released from the company. They made a statement on Instagram saying, "We are aware of an employee who exhibited extremely concerning off-hours behavior. We don't condone violence of any kind, and this does not reflect the standards we expect of our team. This past Monday, we made the decision to end the individual's employment." No word on anything in regards to the guy she was with. I imagine in the director's cut of this footage, if there's a longer version of it, he probably learned his lesson after he tried to pick that fight with the Santa hat guy at the behest of his sweet milady fedora tip. An unsurprising conclusion there. She really did go pretty hard, but you know, surely it was worth it. I bet that was an unforgettable night out that she can't remember at all. Little too hard on the old eggnog this holiday season, I think, for Miss Shireen there. Yikes. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya.